Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the 2024 San Francisco Writers Conference Jazz and Open Mic Night. Good to see so many of you here. Many of your arms were twisted by your host tonight, Dr. Andy Jones. I'm excited to hear from all of you. How many you're probably wondering? Let's take a look. We have 52 sign-ups on the open mic list. I think that's a new record. Give yourselves a round of applause. At least 2/3 of those were voluntary, so it's going to be great tonight. See what happens. We're still adjusting some sound. Welcome everyone, my name is Dr. Andy. I am the host of the Poetry Night Reading Series in Davis, California. I've been hosting there for the last 18 years at the beautiful John Nitsoulis Gallery. It's the largest art gallery in all of Yolo County. All of you are invited to come check us out. We're there every first and third Thursday. You can find out more at poetryindavis.com. Next Thursday, is that right? No, the 7th? Thank you, the 7th of March. We have Maceo Montoya, who is a poet and visual artist. And then on the 21st, get this, you science fiction loving people, we have none other than, he said, I want to read poetry, Dr. Andy. Kim Stanley Robinson will be joining us on the 21st. So yeah, it's a big deal poetry series, and all of you should come check it out. Lisa, do you have any announcements or anything to share before we get started? Great. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, with cheese.
Did you guys see these?
Yeah.
They're cookies.
The hotel just did this for us to celebrate our 20th.
The hotel just did this for us to celebrate our 20th San Francisco Writers Conference. So if you didn't get a cookie and you want a cookie, outside, but come back because we're doing poetry.
I got neither a cookie, this guy's getting up to go get a cookie right now. I got neither a cookie nor a drink because I've been so busy signing up you 52 people to come. What did I want? I wanted a glass of red wine. How about that? The good stuff. All right, here's how it works. One, we have we've got John Barnard here on the keyboard. He will be accompanying you if you are willing, if you dare. I think that you definitely should be thinking, what sort of music do you want behind what you read? Now you'll be nervous when I call your name, and so you will forget to tell John what kind of music you want. And he will sit here, he's only had one drink himself, I think. He will sit there and he will just be smiling politely, saying, for this I'm sitting at a keyboard. So consider what kind of music you want. What are some of our choices, John? So there's upbeat jazz and downbeat jazz, am I right? There's blues, rockabilly. What am I leaving out? Semi-fake classical. So, you know, let's put John's degrees in music to work tonight. All right. So there is a poetry summit here at the San Francisco Writers Conference, and we are very lucky that a number of the faculty members, the presenters of the Poetry Summit, have agreed to read first. Many of them, this may be true, have Ubers waiting outside to take them to other places. And so we said, let's let the faculty go first. I will remind you many times that the rule is 4 minutes or 2 items, whichever is shorter. But we're going to just give these faculty members just a little bit more elbow room because of the number of books that they've published. And then, you know, The Descent, dare I say it, The Descent, right after that, all night long. But let's not let it be that way. Let's give them our best beginning, rousing applause for a few members of the poetry track faculty here at the San Francisco Writers Conference, starting with Emily Ligren. Emily, come on up, please. Sure.
The news. Each morning we listen for what is breaking. The sound of 1,000 tragedies fills the air, shattering that never stops. Headlines, a fleet of anchors tangled at our feet. We watch, worried if we turn away for even a second, it will all crumble the rest of the way. Forget with me for a moment. Take one unguarded breath. Do it now. The world needs your attention here too. On the rise and fall of your shoulders, the rain at the window, the warm gaze between your eyes and mine. I really enjoyed our keynote today, and I'm going to read my own conversation. I loved playing that song when I was a kid on piano. This is perfect. Yeah. I was a somber kid. Minor keys, big fan. What do you mean non-binary? Sometimes I feel like wearing a dress and letting my curls fall in neat, messy lines, and sometimes it only feels right to wear t-shirts, buttoned flannel shirts, tuck my hair into a soft beige cap. Yes, I'm a woman, but more often I feel ungendered. Not between as in the middle or going from one place to another, but between as its own country. Kaleidoscope of color so much broader than the polarity of pastel and pink and blue baby bonnets. Between as in the place of yes and, ungendered, fluid, until the world shows me I appear female, says I am less deserving of professional attention, sweeps over me like dust under a rug, catcalls and expects a smile. I am not confused. It is actually quite simple, joyful even. The more I live into it, the more clear I feel. But my word processing program just automatically corrected ungendered to endangered, and I still think about the first ever compliment a boy gave me. I was in 2nd grade. It was the only day I wore a skirt all year, brown corduroy with a purple and yellow flowered shirt, and I had brushed my hair, and as we waited to file into the classroom after recess, he said, "You look nice today, Emily. At least nicer than you did yesterday." And even then, I found the comment to be fantastically funny. And the only confusing part was the empty replay of prescribed roles, and somehow I knew not to be hurt. Knew I was so much bigger, even though I didn't have the words to say how. I'll share one more brief poem, and I need some audience participation. I need some words from you all. I've had the word rain and canyon in my head all day, so let's hear a couple more words, maybe an object or something. Marble, great. A color.
Blue.
Blue. Violet. Yellow. Okay. And a feeling.
Sadness.
Okay, sadness. The marble got sad the day no one took it out of the drawer. The rain was falling outside, but the marble never became anything but the inside of a drawer, looked at the wooden flats above itself, felt blue inside as it twirled on the lives that it wished it could have. Have you ever been a marble? Stuck inside somewhere knowing that your deeper purpose is just out the door, but you can't find a way to make it out? Have you heard the rain falling and can't go out and touch it? Have you ever felt yourself sweep clean like a marble, pushing down the final rung to reach your destination, where finally you get to be yourself? Thank you.
Also, you look really nice today. We have a number of poets here in the audience who have actually appeared at the Poetry Night reading series, and here is one of them now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome up to the microphone, Maya Kosla. Maya, come on up, please.
The poem is called Blue Oak. A meadow ends where all the perpendiculars of a leafy brown river throw themselves up toward blue. The fruits are olive and ochre. Sprays of dark leaves shiver and splash with sun. Lightning scars show where the mane, once shaped by flames, was not lost, but reduced to fine fists, oak tissue under sheets of earth, sleeping through the storm and teeth of quick heat. Here it is, the world, utterly lovely, despite the anguish, despite endless battles. Meanwhile, you have slipped away to yours. My phone is still again. I could call back. I could babble about this testimony to resilience. Bent limbs and great elbows of trunk, leaning against granite in gestures of pondering and reconciliation. I could share the looping and fluttering of flycatchers. Grasses fresh with fog drip and shade, pressed flat where a fox recently turned dog-like circles round and round before settling in. I could hold up my phone among the workings of xylem and phloem so you could hear the rustling, the liquid flow scooping minutes out of the heart's rocky, sloping terrain and flowing on as only a river can. Or I could stand still and listen. That part about the holding up the phone, I don't know how many of you have seen El Postino, the postman, film, the old film. So remember when he wants to tell Neruda how the stars sound and he holds up his phone to the stars. He's actually recording the ocean. He's trying to call Neruda back to the island and he's recording the ocean and then he said, this is what the stars sound like. So that part is taken from that. I'm going to read a little bit of an activist poem because right now there's a lot of tree cutting going on for electricity generation, believe it or not. Against clear cuts for kilowatts. By July 2020, the river was choked in slash piles. Into the trickle, the slow breathing frog. Under a hoof print, the juvenile trout. Big eye wide and still. Still as a bulldozer's shadow I stood. A compass bearing, a theodolite shot, a blueprint for more clear cutting to come. Leaves of black oak, giving in the dappled light, without a notion of getting back. Under the roar of pines, the new within the old, a second life, a seventh. Some were hollowed. I could count a fire every 5 decades, still they were tough. A fire every 3, and still they were tough. Easy as the forest's breathing, greater than itself, full of the rounded granite, nurturing its pools, its 4-footed tribes, the fisher, the fox, the ring-tailed cat, the lion. Thriving, thriving, a Nashville warbler's song, spinny and scrub, raising assemblages, the root and the winged and the furred. A circle of sticks, a bed, down and fuzz, replaced by the primary, practice flapping in the dawn sun. A bit of gold here, a mammal there, fidgeting and jerking the grasses below. And in the meanderings guided by snout, all followed the sense of the hour and the long refrain of the river that was. I've got one last poem, and it's about a really wild thing that happened in Washington, Willamette, I think. And it might be this phone. Yeah, that's probably what it is. I'm going to try and shorten it as I read it, because it's really, I'm going to give it away. It's, biologists decided to put salmon bones, crushed salmon bones, at the headwaters of a river that had missed the salmon for 64 years, and the salmon came back. So now I can shorten it because I've given it away. Calling the kings back up the river they lost. Then we carried crushed fish bones to the headwaters, tossed them in with ash, all cautious optimism, all the longing from 64 missing years, tossed them in. Winter wrens making their way through the carvings of undercut, a great mass of root wad. One of us worrying the timing would be off, the dilution factor would be off, but not saying it. One of us humming, the Willapa salmon might know to migrate the miles, the tender measure of dilution, to swim vertically up the falls, to run a lining curve, determination despite the turbulence of tripled flows, bound for beds of gravel. Already the rain and the small inflows creeping up, riffles showing white seams, water breaking open, voices over gravel. Already the dark tea of leafy debris, all of it good, good enough to hide the passage of the salmon. They surge, catalyzed into action by the blend of smells, ash and bone and oil of roe. Loyalty, a new generation these fish would not see, holding them as one river opposing the violent onrush of another, the body burning itself down, down to the essentials of river, of racing, nothing but the drive, the dorsal bones showing through, the thunder of tails hitting gravel, a reflex action, driving off the silt. One fish sliding, blood-eyed, past a sudden band of sun. The silvers of memory never weakening. And this language, this crazed and pounding language of return.
Thank you, Maya. That was wonderful. Like me, Maya is a Poet Laureate Emeritus, but I'm only the Poet Laureate Emeritus of a city, Maya, of all of Sonoma County. How about that? Yeah. Now, if I do introductions for all the poets like that, we will be here all night. In fact, we will be here all night regardless. So, I'm going to just cut it short and stick to the names. Next up is Prartho Sereno. Come on up, Prartho.
Okay. So the first one I'm going to do is inspired by the panel we did today about teaching young people, is called Juvenile Hall. Giovanni is not in poetry class today. he's in lockup, chants my wayward Greek chorus. And for a moment, he's conjured up out of the hole, standing there in his orange sweats, all 17 years, 6.5 feet of him, incandescent globe of hair, cockeyed grin, hands dangling like shoes tossed over a telephone wire. Funny how the Freedom Riders always gallop full steam into lockup. The ones whose poetry we love, who can turn the sky into a rainbow trout, serve it up with a hot sauce of snow. Funny how his presence seems more like wind than a room with no window or mattress. More like a gust of laughter, so sweet and clear, even the guards close their eyes to hear. And this next one is what I brought back from Syracuse when I went to get my master's MFA in poetry when I was in my 60s. And that is not the 1960s, that was my 60s. It wasn't that long ago. And I think this was kind of the poem I went there to write. And it is called, because academia, it turns out, was not really my flavor anymore. And it's called Magdalene Faces the Tribunal of Quantifiable Evidence and Measurable Outcomes. It's kind of an ars poetica, actually. Yes. It's all in her voice. Let's see. Oh dear, I lost it. Too much going on. Oh boy, the first line is so good. This happened last year. Anybody was here last year? Oh boy.
Sing.
It's not going to come. I'll sing. You're right. I'm going to sing instead. I'm going to sing instead.
Spin around.
Oh yeah. Yes, sirs. It is possible that he hypnotized us. Thank you. And he only imagined us. And we only imagined ourselves in those silent depths. We only, oh boy, it's not coming. No, I'm going to sing. I'm sorry. It's my favorite poem, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to have to sing for you. So, this is, I don't know, you'll have to figure out. Well, I'll come for the singing, but I won't stay for the sermon. And I'll listen to your gossip, but I don't want to hear no gospel. 'Cause I'm glad to join the living folks wherever they might be. But them chains of guilt and locks of fear, they keep this soul from flying free. Now I know folks are telling you to crawl before you fly. But tell me, have you seen the birds crawling to the sky? No, they spread their wings skyward without ever asking why. No need for whying when you're flying. So I'll come for the singing, but I won't stay for the sermon. And I'll listen to your gossip, but I don't want to hear no gospel. 'Cause I'm glad to join the living folks wherever they might be. But them chains of guilt and locks of fear, they keep the soul from flying free. One more verse. Now I know folks are telling you to think 1,000 things, but let me say the place place to start just might be a feeling hard. A heart that's beating strong enough to drown out all the words. A heart that has the courage to take a jump and fly like the bird. So I'll come for the singing, but I won't stay for the sermon. And I'll listen to your gossip, but I don't want to hear no gospel. 'Cause I'm glad to join the living folks wherever they might be. But them chains of guilt and locks of fear, they keep this soul from flying free, flying free, flying free, from flying free.
Setting the bar so high. I'm expecting at least half a dozen people to stop by now and say, take me off that list, I can't. Prartho, that was wonderful. Thank you very much for that poetry and that song. All right. Here is a poet whose book, Poem Crazy, I had read twice before I ever met her. It's Susan Woolridge. Come on up, Susan.
It's such a relief. So I don't know if I can strike a match. Ishi, a yahi, love matches. How easily they strike fire. Ishi called them, Ishi Ayahi love matches. How easily they strike fire. Words on paper have no apparent glow. Ishi called them bird tracks on white bark. But words on white paper can move from mind to mind like flames from roof to roof in the wind, not one word spoken. But it's starting to on fire. I have done that in the past. So for a long dry period in my life, I was having an affair with Lone Star Road. Has anyone taken Lone Star? It's between the exciting town of Williams and the exciting town of Colusa. Hi, sweetheart. But I have to admit, I kind of cheated on Lone Star. So this is from my Lone Star love poems. It was on Lone Star Road, in full view of the Sutter Buttes, that I mated with geese. Squadrons rushed over me, honking, flooding me with goose lust, teasing what was left of me, wrapped in denim, draped over my Honda's hood. I was smitten, lost as Lita, with relentless wings pulsing over me and the soaking road. Now, casting off my shoes, I'm weaving a great straw and grapevine nest near the compost by the wild fig, sage, and the collapsing poke beside our shed. And I was going to stop there, but I think I want to read this interview with the Baal Shem Tov, because I was talking today about how we all, as writers, need to bring out the mystic in us, because that's going to get us through. And Dorian Laux, a hero of mine, taught at Poets in the Schools one year, and she suggested that we interview a figure from the past, from anywhere, and just put the answers to the interview. And so I interviewed the Baal Shem Tov, a 1700 Jewish mystic. The Jews mystics have gotten it wrong since then, but Baal Shem Tov was something else. So this is my interview. Well, the spinning began early. My feet took me to the trees, and circling a tree led to spinning. Next I climbed. I knew the moment I hung by my knees and saw roots in the sky. Blue ground speaking. Yes, my mother let me do those things. It's the safety of a large family. Lost in the fold, I slipped out, and I'm still slipping. No, that began when I was 7. From earth and sky, both, the voice came. Joy. No, there were no toothbrushes. I used foxtails to clean my teeth. Yes, I wore robes. No underpants. We had no elastic. Of course I wandered. Why would I stay in one place? I followed my feet, and soon other feet followed mine. That was lovely. We all sat in oak trees and sang and listened. Wine? Yes, my dear little wine. Don't you love the grapes? Where can love take you? Me, it was uphill, and a circle at the top for a time, and then down. Yes, sometimes I got cold, but I always dried out in the morning. Heavens, I can't tell you that, my dear. That you must discover for yourself. Though you may want to climb a tree with drawers beneath your gown and hang by your knees.
Thank you, Susan. And now let's welcome up the organizer of the Poetry Summit here at the San Francisco Writers Conference. It's Diane Frank.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you everyone for being here. If you remember that wind that we had a while ago in San Francisco, it was vertical, it was not a tornado, and it knocked down a lot of fences in the outer Sunset. I was teaching when it happened. All of a sudden there was this huge loud noise, and wham, the fence on the right side of the yard was down, and wham, the fence on the left side was down. Wind. Not a tornado, not a bag of wind full of acorns or stars, not hail by the back window, a bolt of lightning, a family of mice, not golf balls, baseballs, or planets, not a dream trying to find itself inside the radio of your memories. Not your mother, not your father, not your younger brother trying to steal your baseball bat and hit a fast one out of the park. Not Iowa, covered in snowdrifts, deer tracks, through the long hibernation of winter. Maybe an owl, nesting inside a red barn, a solitary cardinal flying south, a dream, an intuition, a symphony knocking on your window while you were bathing in moonlight. A gypsy moth on a secret door, that moment before the mind turns into a kaleidoscope. In the distance, the ocean echoes through wind tunnels. The next poem I wrote just after the fire in Talent that took out most of that town. Eric's parents live in Talent. Their house was spared. A lot of the town wasn't.
and it got me thinking about a lot of things. This is late August at Point Reyes, and it has an epigraph: a tree lives 100 years, and a bird perches in it just one night. And that's an Afghani proverb from the Pashtun tribe. The mother tree gathers a redwood circle. A white deer runs through the forest. The hikers lost their way in the sunset, and the breadcrumbs ran out. A white deer runs through the forest, gathering light that has sprayed from stars. A dream is shivering. A yearling tree has stretched into its first koan. The pine cones are dreaming of a forest as fire spreads its acres and sweeps up the hill. Stellar's jays fly toward the darkness as branches begin to fall. A woodpecker taps a message, but the crazy woman who dropped a match in the undergrowth does not hear it. Her nightmares become mythological birds. Somewhere in time, prayers fly out of phoebes and nuthatchers. The chanting is in a minor key. The notes burn across the page. In a different part of the world, 3 billionaires fly to the moon, while the rest of us are trying to rescue our burning planet. And my final prayer is poems, prayers. They're really like that for me. This is Prayer to the Invisible. I wrote this a year after the synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh, where I lost a dear friend as one of the 11 departed souls that day. Prayer to the Invisible. I write your name where no one can read it. In the sky, behind a cloud, on a stone, in the footprints of a tortoise walking back into the ocean. In the conversation where you came in a dream from the other place. When I told you how much I missed you, you let me know that you can do even more healing where you are now, out of your body. A year after the synagogue shooting, you embrace your friends at the Tree of Life as they are saying Kaddish for you, where we sit all day and name the dead. You whisper to your wife, who is living in a shadow, sitting alone on the tapestry sofa where she sat with you. Our prayers grow out of the shadow of necessity. Our music floats above the burden we carry, even though you want us to release it. I carry your spirit on my shoulders as I walk into the synagogue where we played music for you, as I follow an eclipse north, as I walk into a dream. I write your name in the sky after midnight, in the Leonid meteor showers, in the penumbra of an eclipse of the wolf moon. Your name is inside the music I play for you on my cello. I write your name in the invisible, where you disappeared that morning, where your spirit flew into a cloud. I write your name in an ice halo around the moon, and my prayer that this planet will one day, like an amaryllis, bloom again.
Thank you so much, Diane, and thanks for recruiting so many great poets to this event this year. I'm wondering if Dr. Jean Powell is still here. I don't see Dr. Jean. There she is. Excellent. I was looking for her earlier. Here is one of our poets with an Uber waiting outside, so I'm glad that she's here. She's just going to gather up her manuscripts for her.
It's a cable car waiting.
It's a cable car that's waiting. Excellent. Does anyone know the name of the first African-American female cable car conductor? Maya Angelou. Wow, what an informant we have. Are you impressed with them, Dr. Jean? They all knew that Maya Angelou was the... Yeah, me too. Excellent. Come on up to the mic, ladies and gentlemen. It's Dr. Jean.
Thank you for staying, and I'll try to read with my distance glasses. Oh, here it is. This is the Fruitvale BART station, Oakland, California, January 1, 2009. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Did you know before today a bullet fired in disdain, callous indifference into a young father's back as he lies face down on harsh cement, will power through, race through his body prone, bounce off the pavement cold, and splash back into vital organs like the heart and spirit and soul, leaving no room for compromise, explanation, or forgiveness, and no time to say goodbye to his lovely baby daughter. But you know now. Of thee I sing, for Oscar Grant. Reading off a phone is not one of my specialties. I'll do my best. Empty your arms of all they own, ever owned in the embers of light. The sun hides, ashamed to witness all you have lost. The children smile, looking at you for reassurance, for all the light you cannot give. The generations lost, honor forever torn into fragments. You search for the angels as carnage reigns, absent as they prostrate themselves before God and beg mercy for human charges, but the mercy window is closed. You will be late coming back from wherever you've been, holding close the still warm keepsakes of flesh plastered on your hair, your face, your shell of a body. You wrote names and numbers on children's brown legs and pressed face to face last night so you would remember in any realm where you found yourself. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, shrieking spilled onto your irises, wailing wafted through the smoke, olive wood teething rings burst into flame for Gaza.
That was beautiful, thank you. Don't you love it when the sixth poet on the list says, "Thank you for staying so late for me"? I say that because we are deep, deep into triple digits. It feels like. All right, now for something completely different. Aren't you impressed when poets and performers just keep these texts in their heads? I wonder if that's going to happen anymore tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, the director of the San Francisco Writers Conference. It's Lisha Provost. Lisha.
I have to make a little room. I'm going to do something a little different.
In the session, I mentioned that when you know what your areas of weakness are, what are you doing about that? What are you doing to improve? And I am, as you see, in a position where I must do a little bit of public speaking, and it is not an area of my strength. And so I joined the forensics performance speech and debate team at the local junior college. And so what I'm going to do is what I told you about in that session, my poetry performance that I've been doing in competition, and I have not done it with a microphone, so this might be a little awkward, but it might also be a little different than what you're used to. So I'll just give you a heads up, this is like a debut of a competitive type of speaking. My favorite place in the whole wide world, the place I love the best, I'm gonna do it with this. Yeah. It's snuggled up in the big bed between Daddy's back and Mommy's chest. There's this tiny little space there that barely fits just me, and I can stay the whole night through if I promise not to pee. I had a feather bed when I got married. I don't know if you've ever laundered a feather bed, but I held onto mine far past the point where it became impractical. These nightly negotiations with my toddlers were hysterical, and I had to start writing poetry again to capture these four-dimensional memories in a way that two-dimensional photos just couldn't do. As I began to share these poems, I very quickly discovered that every mom has her version of my feather bed. Something she treasured from her before that is no longer compatible with her now. Moms have a lot of things in common, as motherhood.com surveys every year and discovers. In 2023, one devastating commonality came to light. Post-COVID, 49% of moms report being completely burned out on motherhood, with a record 46% seeking therapy. Using 6 of my own poems, let me tell you about your mothers. Someday, you'll have a kid like you. My mother used to say, then you'll suffer like I do every single bloody day. My mom was absolutely wrong, you'll all be glad to hear. Instead, I have this horrid child who's just like Mother dear. Something interesting started happening as I started sharing my poems at open mics. People kept stopping me to tell me about their mother's poems. Poems they'd written in cards, in binders, in file boxes, in attics where they will rot unread until some future generation decides they're unsavable or not worth saving. I could only name 3 widely published female poets at this point, all dead. None particularly interested in the domestic experience. It seemed like there was this big gaping hole in the poetic record of the 20th century. Except there wasn't. All of these poems were being written, but their lives weren't considered interesting or important enough to merit publication. They were background characters in other people's lives. A dimple is the devil's work. No harmless little facial quirk. It led my baby girl astray, because she could always get her way. I don't need your money, Mom. She drops another info bomb, explaining to me, in her case, I can buy things with my face. Of course, we can't ignore the economic reasons that kept them from publication. Housewives didn't usually need an extra income at that point, and let's face it, if you need an extra income, poetry is not the way to get it. They either suppressed themselves or were oppressed, and opportunities for them to hone their craft were not thick on the ground. But there I was, with this growing body of work, exploring and celebrating domestic life. And I eventually got the nerve up to publish a chapbook. Love, joy, and peace, because when you have toddlers, you have more misplaced urine in your life than you have peace. I tried to use the potty, Mom. I even shut the door. But will you please remember that I am only 4? This weenie thing is floppy. It never will be still. I truly cannot tell you how pee hit the windowsill. The thing is, all of the poems I've shared so far are light and entertaining. And even if you're not a mom, you might relate, you might have been one of those kids. But they're not the whole picture. Like my predecessors, I was writing poetry that was dark and deep and hiding it in my closet. The parts where a mom becomes a whole woman. I didn't want to destroy the illusion either. The next 2 poems are from the full volume of poetry I published, which I called Diary because, you know, that's where I had written poems for probably 20 years. And it has a light side and a dark side, just like your mother. And it's illustrated with my art because I get to be a multidimensional modern mother. These next 2 poems are from the dark side. I'm lying in bed with you. Your hand on my naked thigh. You sleep deeply, sated. I'm jealous. 40 hours a week, your daily labor of love. It takes so little recompense to satisfy. Head aching from twisted contemplations, turning labor into life for you like magic. Guilt and gratitude. To be myself but never selfish. Failing in my own eyes, but you're blind. Take all and be happy. Then I will be content and cry success. My responsibility. My achievement. My love. In the long, hard summer of life. I remember sitting in my living room watching reruns of Oprah, 11 p.m., pregnant with my first of 4 children. And she had on these 2 women who were studying what made successful women. Of course, a lot of the factors that they discovered in their interviews are things we have no control over. But one thing really jumped out at me. All of the successful women they interviewed had mothers who pursued their own dreams, their own interests, whatever that meant for them. Mothers are willing to do things for their children that they would not do for themselves. I got up the nerve to publish my own poems, even the dark ones, because I felt a responsibility to my daughters to be the best version of myself as an example to them. Because I felt a responsibility to all those women whose poetry was rotting in attics, who would have loved to have the opportunities I have as a 21st century mom. And because I felt a need to connect with all the moms I know today who are feeling so unseen in a culture that has become increasingly hostile to motherhood.
I can't feel your pain. I won't feel your pain. I have felt the unending anguish of a million deaths, paraded in garish light before rapt eyes until my soul bled a river of all the fucks I ever had to give. And I'm empty now. A porcelain shell with glass eyes that don't flinch and don't cry, and pretty lips that don't sigh and breathe platitudes to comfort those who haven't learned that life is not what you gather, but a long, hard race to lose it all. My pain is enough. To think of 8 billion others suffering in solidarity is enough. I cannot feel it all and survive.
Great job, Lisha. Yeah. Don't have begun clapping yet. Even though we've got 56 people on the open mic list, they're just going to keep clapping and clapping. And well deserved. Ladies and gentlemen, here's our next poet. It's Robin Gabbard. Robin, come on up, please. Come on up to the open microphone. I'm going to move the mic right back here into the middle of the stage. Try to estimate the height of the poet. Welcome, Robin.
I just have one poem for you tonight. It's called Invisible Cloak. It's written after Rita Dove's poem, Daystar. If any of you know that poem. It's a wonderful poem. If you don't, I would suggest you read it. Rita Dove's Daystar. I seek a palace. I seek a palace among ordinary things. Slip into a space between dark and light, among stars and trees. Find a niche to enter. Sunset hues, a moving cloak that protects me. Sleep is near if needed, a way out if desired. I am not a prisoner here, but leaving such sanctuary is unfathomable. There's no need to feed the creature who snaps and growls and finds ways to turn simple things into lingual bloodshed. I'll stay here, write him into a poem, paint him into a hovering Chagall-like mural, pick up his pieces and sew them like animal hides until they make a pleasing form. Eventually, I will go back to see the twins who are nothing like him. They are why I stayed for decades, even after the meat started to spoil. The dessert no longer appealing. They're now grown. I am primeval. I can always visit my palace, soothing purple fog between the dimness and the dusk. And there are those who do not notice the shift in the air, the brief flicker of leaves, glaze of eyes and ears, the distant stare, or the too long sharpening of knives.
Thank you, Robin. Now let's welcome up to the microphone Juan, are you here? And are you ready to share something? Here he comes, Juan.
Hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here in my favorite sandbox. So this one is called Cinturón, and it just kind of goes over generational trauma that's been passed down and tracing that line. Cinturón. My abuelo was a gentle man, but only after using up his youthful rage that was channeled into a belt hung in a glass case above his cold bed. A belt that knew the butts of all my uncles, but not my aunts. The cinturón made of a mythical bull said to have killed his old butcher as he bled to death and carved by a hermit leathersmith. The belt fed on pain and blood, laughing at begging tears. Generations used it in the name of order, a torch of fear passed down to rule from great and beyond to my abuelo. Then my dad's gentle hands inherited the demon. After my rear met cinturón, my pig squeals and thrashings were enough to trigger my dad's deja vu, ending the ancestral pain and putting the bull to rest. My abuelo was a faithful man, but that's after he cheated on my grandma and brought his second family home. This is my hija. Her mother died, my abuela said. My unflinching abuela received a little sleeve with her bony glass hand and broken smile. I would never see them lying in the same bed again. My abuelo hid in his lair, coming out only to eat and get thinner, walk but get weaker, blow candles and smile less. Classical music, newspapers, and cigars were offerings to appease the bull hanging on top of his bed, the one that hunted him until he sucked his blood dry. Thank you. I have one more, and this one is called Zapatos y Luces, which means shoes and lights, or lights and shoes. The tired street lights barely hug the paved hills. My shoes red lighted the shadows when I saw a boy with an empty look, dirty clothes, and broken shoes. His smile, an attempt that never takes off. Me gustan tus zapatos. I like my shoes too. I see them light, then I hear an echo of my dad's warning. Cuidado, careful getting robbed. I walk away and he follows the mesmerizing red lights in my shoes. A predator stares and a chill from elbow to neck rakes my hair. His voice, wet with a beg, both gentle and sad, give them to me. My heart gets soaked by his words, but my brain is dry in defense. A knot in my throat made by the shoelaces I wear stop any words from flying out. I walk home and he repeats his mantras. In desperation, I make one up. Come with me and I'll give you a pair tomorrow. A lie. Like the one I told God when I broke my sister's doll. If she stops crying and doesn't tell on me, I'll never do it again. There'll be 3 more broken dolls by the end of that week alone. I like your shoes, he repeats. Finally home, he stands looking at me, and I repeat my safety lie. I lied to save myself from a false danger while I became a villain. The next day, my dad asked if I told the niño pobre that I'll give him my shoes, and another safety lie was born. I throw away my shoes because lights and shoes can only get you in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Let's welcome up, are you ready, Cami? Let's welcome up the winner of the 2023, what's the name of that poetry prize you won? It's the Pamela Mouse Award winner, Cami Rothmuller. Come on out, Cami.
This is It Isn't Always Wolves. There's a proverb about two wolves inside you. I am tired of the two wolves. Inside me there are shadows of deer weaving through fog on legs so thin they're metaphorical. Inside me there is a carcass. It died with an empty stomach, but now brims with the progeny of scavengers, flies, beetles, larvae, filling it the way dawn fills the valley. Inside me there is a mouse stuck in a trap chewing off its own legs. Can you imagine? Do you think that's terrible? Do you know that it's happening right now, in here, a creature no larger than your finger, dumb with panic, opening its wrists like the pages of a book, feeling something it's never felt before, tasting something it's never tasted before, an education, to learn its own bones and tendons, how strong they really were. A world unfolds between its teeth. Inside me is a small animal and a man-made anguish. Only part of me survives. I would tell you what I've lost if I had the words. Inside me is a hospital. Inside me is an empty wing. Inside me is a nest of egg-shaped stones and a hen trying desperately to keep them warm. The worst part is that they do stay warm beneath her as if there were a life within, and she believes it. The grave of my body is shaped like a womb. Inside me is a nest of stones. Inside me is a thermal pool, boiling, and a bacterium that has learned to live there. Inside me is a door with a lock that's about to give. Inside me is an infant learning the word for cut. Inside me is a baby bird, fledgling feathers still neatly sheathed, a heavy little thing with eyes still sealed, and membranous, tissue paper skin. Tumbling from the nest and learning so briefly the only thing he'll know of flight. For a moment, a miracle. Inside me is an ant, learning the scent of a baby bird. Inside me is the sound of paper tearing. Inside me is a set of jaws that's closing. Inside me is a woman begging for her life. Inside me is a river filling with rain. Inside me is a nest of stones. Thank you.
That was so good. Several high fives going on over here. Yeah, well done. All right, let's bring up a poet who I promised to introduce to many important writers in such a way to daunt her and help her with her bravery studies at the University of California, Davis. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Helena Flores. Helena, come on out.
Okay, this poem is called Post Crossings. All right. My first order of business is to wear my hair loose. No more mental strings by post crossings because I flow less when in the presence of a knot. You say I'm a pointless person and that you love pointless things. Miniature home figurines in some Chicago basement, bushy tails on cats, billboards on the way to Sacramento, cookie cutter pools, magazine cutouts, watching ants take steps through sugar. Tiny sweet enemies, I believe in them too. You asked me to explain it to you, so listen to me. The sound of the rain in a downspout sounds the same as the ready kettle. The sound of gold hoops smashing sounds the same as pocket change. I understand that the city of Chicago has done right by you. I could do right by you too. Time never seems to be in the right amount when it crosses between us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helena. All right. LB, I don't even see your last name up here, so I'm just going to introduce you by your first name. You can reintroduce yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's LB.
Thank you, everyone. I'm so sorry. I have a flight back to Alaska tomorrow, and I am dead on my feet, so I was like, I gotta pack. I am Obi Sopolik, and this was, let's see, I wrote a very tongue-in-cheek, dark humor series of poems called The Morbid Elite. And it won second, this one, in Alaska. But let me pull it up so everybody mingle for a second, because I didn't even know how I was gonna go. So 2 seconds. Yeah, peace and carrots, peace and carrots. Wonderful. This poem is called The Worst Martini. 4-course meals and linen napkins with a man who could be my dad. Ladies who lunch so hard they can't drive themselves home. This is the worst martini I've ever had. The most exclusive vintage bar in the city, where bartenders with sleeves all agree Barcelona's okay. Oh, where we pretend we're above the hipster fad, sorry. Bartenders with sleeves who agree Barcelona's okay. This is the worst martini I've ever had. A family-friendly place with married siblings, where the zucchini fries aren't really that bad. You know, I could help you get back on track if you want. This is the worst martini I've ever had. The dive bar where my roommate's boyfriend is playing. But we only hooked up once. I didn't think you'd be mad. She leaves with a slam. I guess I'll stay with the band. This is the worst martini I've ever had. Alone in my bathroom for dawn downtime. 2 pills down the hatch. So why am I still sad? Forcing down another drink, I wonder, for the very first time, do I even like martinis? Thank you all so much.
Thank you, LB. You had us at Alaska. All right. And now let's bring up to the microphone Dyson Smith. Come on up, Dyson.
Oh wow, that's cool. It's a cool microphone. It's sporty. Anyway, I always wanted to sing a song. So I'm gonna sing a quick song within 30 seconds, and then I'll read a poem because I'm a better rule follower than I am a poet. So I'm gonna try to clap, but I'm just gonna go like that. So I would appreciate the claps for the rhythmic purposes. I always just wanted to do this since a kid. So it goes, it's like smoke till we grown ups, to coffee and donuts, newspaper to pop in the crap on the moments, to sweat our personas till doctors persuade us you stronger till you think that you living longer. My ace in the hole. Watch how I wish how these 18-year-old things was longer till I wish that I took honors and gone to med school so I could solve your problems. I always wanted to do it. I don't know why. This is one of my favorite songs too. Okay, poem. Here's my poem. It's called Growing Up in Uptown. I'm from Uptown Chicago. Baptizing myself in gas station coffee to feel soaked and clean in the presence of who I scrape the gas grill, spray the windows with Windex, and take years off my life for. These toxins inhaled, my only recollection was how the light looked when he left. It was more light than the light should be. I don't remember the feeling of a lefty's notes or the actions of a proficient prodigy's individual practice, the rotation in an unexplored matrix of a monochrome brown piggy bank, painted with aimless care somewhere in a via, head staked in the ground through a metal pole that scarecrow's spine, feeling pretty and painless, unable to categorize the trials of a petty thief who steals to eat and be recognized, seeing people in place people's actress auditions that surely went well, almost getting the desired part, for me walking on floorless marble to simply fall free, hold safety in for free, object-oriented environments that iterate 1 million times over, like if I approach my 5th grade social studies teacher in a bar, would she fall for me freely? And my phone just died, so that's the end of the poem.
hard to argue with a dead phone. Thank you, Dyson. Well done. Isn't it funny that the guy who's number 10 on the list, phone died? I wonder how many phone deaths we're going to have this evening. Some of you are going to come up to me while I'm standing over there and say, sorry, Dr. Andy, phone death. Take me off the list. All right. Next up, it's Kenneth Baker. Come on up, Kenneth.
Battle cry. I am sprawled on the recliner, laid all the way back. On my chest, head just below my chin, a small, half-naked body on their stomach. A piece of a puzzle I didn't know was missing, set in place. My hand stretches across the bare back, holding, protecting. The skin's so soft, I can feel my hand descend forever into this quiet. A man died. He had a sister too, a mother. The pain of his passing, a mother's reminder of the pain of his birth, of her teaching how the world works, how life isn't fair. A mother should never outlive their child. I'm sprawled out, recliner laid all the way back. On my chest, head just below my chin, a small, half-naked body. It isn't fair that a man died, knee on his neck. I raised a man, taught him hitting someone is not okay. Cutting with words is not okay. Taught him thou shalt not kill. Still, a man died, and his mother cried. On my chest, head just below my chin. A small, half-naked body, on their stomach, a piece of a puzzle I didn't know was missing. A city rose up when a man died because it wasn't fair and it has never been right, whether it's noose or knee. A nation rose up to fight those who believe it was not a man that died, but a thug, a violent animal, a drugged animal that deserved to be put down, that his mother had no reason to cry. A piece of a puzzle I didn't know was missing, set in place.
Thank you, Kenneth. Let's welcome up Patrick. Patrick, where are you? Come on up and read a poem. Here you are.
I'm not prose?
Or prose. Are you all ready for some palate cleanser prose tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't a constraint.
I wonder what sort of music goes with prose. We'll find out.
In this excerpt from the Prophet of Central Park, Caleb is in the park selling his wood sculptures. He is about to discover that Tawana Johnson, whom he has just met, is much more than a typical street performer. Her singing rolls across the lawn to sweep Caleb away to a backcountry lane a good 20 miles from his hometown of Maynardsville. where the crickets in the field fiddled a tumultuous two-note round, and the night begrudged the truck's headlights only short, narrow tunnels to drive toward. His brother Alfred and he knew they were lost when the macadam gave way to gravel, and they turned into the grass lot of the lighted hall to go back. A sign long in need of touch-up read Gethsemane Baptist Chapel, Friday night service. Before Al Jr. could shift into reverse, an African-American spiritual erupted from the meeting house, a plaintive, hopeful, desperate cry into the dark. His brother shut off the engine so they could listen to the invisible female soloist celebrate and lament, both with unshakable belief. The same faith of the dispossessed imbues Tawana's voice with its growl, reverent growl and ecstatic heights. And like back then, Caleb feels himself rising to share its burden. The tourist alerts him to the lyrics. "She can't say that," he exclaims, even as his wife hurries to him, saying, "George, do you hear what that woman is singing?" Their outburst reaches the audience. Some shush the two, others come about to stand with arms crossed over their chests as barriers to any disruption. Tawana continues, "God sent his son to save everyone, but did the ghost ask about Mary? Still just a virgin, told to submit whether or not she was ready." The sacrilege leaves Caleb shaking. The tourist tromps around the blanket towards the performance, beating the air over his head with his fist and crying out, "You stop that, young lady. You can't say that about her." The wife trails behind, mumbling what must be agreement as she nods her head like a woodpecker at a diseased tree. Much of the crowd tries to shut him down, and those closest are drawing up ranks to keep the threat from Tawana, but some call out encouragement, so that Caleb realizes that people have come not only to enjoy, but also to confront her. Tawana's order cuts through the uproar. "Let him speak. Let him through. You, please, come up here if you have a problem with my song." Through the shifting crowd, Caleb watches in glimpses. Tawana beckons the man forward. When the people part for him, the tourist hesitates to come on stage, so to speak, but does. Tawana closes up her guitar for safety and faces the man. He is several inches taller, but the guitarist, the preacher, the prophet, false prophet, the charlatan, Caleb can no longer venture a name. She commands the space, without bluster or hostility. People all about have their phones up. "What have I said that infuriates you?" "Are you being cute?" he snaps back, "making fun of me?" "No," she answers quickly. "I am not and will not do that. I want us to understand each other, so please. What have I said that you find so terrible?" Okay, I have a problem with you saying that." And he fortifies himself to utter the words, "that God raped Mary. I didn't say. Lady, everyone just heard you. I'm saying the Bible story gives Mary no choice in the matter." Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, let's bring up a performer who, if I remember correctly, 10 or 15 years ago, I just recruited off the street to come to the open mic. And now she's working her way up the organization here at the San Francisco Writers Conference. Are you ready, Amanda? I'm about to call your name. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Amanda. Come on up, Amanda.
All right. I'm not a poet, so don't object me. I don't identify as a poet. But I have written a 100-word story, which I heard about just very recently, this idea of a 100-word story. It must be exactly 100 words, no more, no less. My shortest book is 36,000 words, so I took it as a challenge. I hit a moment, this is not the beginning, I'm still explaining things. I hit a moment in life this past year that maybe many of you will understand. And I think, based on some feedback I've gotten at this conference, I'm a little older than all of you think I am. So, the title of this is A Short story. This is my story. It was going to be a long story with many fabulous characters. A dangerous quest, a beautiful sword, a fierce dragon, and epic battles, fame, fortune, and glory. But at some point when I was writing this story, I realized that it wasn't going to be about any of those things. Just a few characters would grace its pages, precious as jewels, beloved as the sun rising every day, predictable and steadfast. And there would be only one struggle: understanding how short the story truly is and what exactly I want to write.
Thank you, Amanda. All right, it's just been pointed out to me that it's 8:58 and that the bar closes at 9. So don't stampede, but I'm just saying, last call. And some of you are thinking, I already feel the last drink, Dr. Andy, and there are 40 more names on this open mic list, so I don't know if getting another drink would be in my best interest. I want to support my authors the way that I plan to, but if you have a drink ticket in your hand, you should probably use it. This will be your last chance. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here she is, I hope. It's Aria Gawthorne. Aria, are you here? She's way in the back. She's working her way through a large crowd. It's probably not the first time this has happened to her, to come up to the microphone and perform. Let's hear what Aria has to say.
Hello, I'm Aria Gawthorne, and this is one of my first times ever doing a poem aloud to such a large crowd. I've only ever done it to my family. I'm just a tad nervous though. Just a little. Okay. This is called The Chase by me. I've been on the run for a long time. I cannot cease my pursuit now that I've begun. It is not what I run from that haunts me, but rather what I run towards. Digging my heels into the sand, no matter how deeply they bleed. I seek gold that holds no value, buildings that boast no beauty, and people who bear no lips to smile with, no eyes to admire with. I tire of searching, of knowing. I tire of beholding this world void of dreams, but I am a dreamer of dreamers. I run with small feet, and I run with big foot, moving always, stagnant somehow. I desire roots to ground me. I yearn for branches to bask with. I cannot stop this chase, but perhaps not every case is without the golden strand of hope that lifts us, the thread of life that connects us. I am a dreamer of dreamers. Thank you all.
Thank you, Aria. One and done. Let's all emulate Aria. And next up, it's Layla Kumar. Come on up, Layla. It's your turn at the open microphone. I recruited Layla early in this process. He's got a new book of poetry out. Make sure to mention the title.
Sure. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lalit Kumar. I mostly write about adventure and travel, both prose and poetry. And I'm glad to state that my new book called Yosemite of My Heart, Poems of Adventure in California, has just been out. It's available on multiple online stores and some local bookshops as well. So, as you guessed, this book is all about California. All about California outdoor, some of the landmarks including Tahoe, San Francisco, Monterey, and kind of also interweaving the rich literary heritage of California, including, the poetry renaissance of 40s and, beat generation of 50s and 60s and so on. So without disclosing too much, let me read the title poem, and then if time permits, I will do one on San Francisco and another one on California. It's pretty short, so shouldn't take too much time, if that's okay. Yosemite of my heart. So this actually this poem, kind of compares the daybreak in Yosemite to a grand rock concert. So music resonates across the vale, concert stage set ablaze. In thunderous delight daybreak, Yosemite Valley, meadows and the Merced, wakes up gradually, waits in a dream. Half-dome rocks like a lead guitarist, plucks strings, plays frets of the grand castle. El Capitan provides the bass, cathedral rocks rounds out the rhythms of soulful rock and roll. Bridal veil falls, gushes forth a dream beat. Crashing, winds bring the cymbals. This tunnel view and Yosemite of my heart intertwines in glorious sights and sounds, streaming, surging, rising in crescendo. While Yosemite of solid granite walls, standing steady to the passing millennia, singe me with an adventurous ardor. Oh, for the distance I traverse miles and lengths and breadths, Yosemite in changing seasons, Yosemite in dawn and dusk. Though I wonder of its splendor, yet unseen, horizon yet unexplored. Its vistas tattooed on my naked eyes, its sound abyss in my listening ears. Thank you. So I can do another one on San Francisco, since we are in the city. So this one is called Alone in San Francisco. Sauntering down the Embarcadero along the edges of Pier 39, a foggy morning clings to the city. Rumbling itself awake from slumber, I trudge along the wooden pier. Waves lap at the jetty, winds howl, a pelican nonchalantly flaps his wings and flies past my view ahead. It's not so lonely after all. Nature resplendent in its special today. Winds, waves, oceans seem to have no bearing to the seasons of my mind. Nature is constant. My mind shifts with each seed of thought. I'm not so lonely after all. I open my arms to welcome the oncoming wind. Feel it directly on my face. I let it caress my skin. I feel it ruffle my hair. And I close my eyes to witness the love of my friend. I jump into the oncoming waves. The Pacific blues cold as the thaw in my heart. An instant commingling of two long-lost lovers for whom distance has not dimmed the light in their hearts. Distant memory has a way of its own, to ebb and flow with the tide. A dream can rise and flutter with the waves, or sink to the bottom with the changing tide and time. The ocean water, I feared it may drown me. Instead, it taught me how to swim along with the tide. Thank you. No, I think yeah, good. Thank you so much for listening patiently.
If some of you are thinking, oh, if only I had a better seat, there are 2 chairs up here at one of the captain's tables. All right, and now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome up Dick. Come on up, Dick, and share something with us. Here comes Dick.
I wrote this one for the conference. I live in Oregon and I love San Francisco, so it's a little bit of history. It's called Calafia's Gate. A brotherhood of angles calls for feckless wanderings. So I set off to meander, Masonic to hate, knowing full well the trip is neither long nor strange, when A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A sisterhood of sensations calls for feckless wanderings. Calafia's oration, a standing ovation, atop Lafayette Park, I deciphered the old plan. Wooden masts, wooden ships, a redwood edifice erected when Yerba Buena was black. Spaniards scoped the hills for glittering griffins and women clad in armor gold. I remember, before your earthquake, before your fire break, this town was alive with the song of the sea, the Lord of the universe, waves of infinity. Feckless wanderings from Battery to Baker Beach, I am the burning man, seeking the telegraph sacrament, the N Judah line, and the hand of my queen Calafia, that I may kiss her solar ring and enter the Golden Gate.
Thank you, Dick. And now, Martina, are you ready? And now it's Martina Hutchins. Come on up, Martina. Here she is.
Hi, I'm Martina Hutchins, and I just moved to San Francisco, and I live on the N Judah line, actually. What's up? So say hi to me if you're local. Can I get something existentially playful? Just kidding, that's like very abstract. Just feel it out. Okay, this is a vignette from a novel in progress that hopefully stands alone pretty well. It's called The Ballad of Gemma Grissom, Puller of Teeth. For Gemma Grissom, DDS, and future great American novelist, composition is like pulling teeth. Or is pulling teeth. She can't tell which anymore. Once a penner of stories about quiet, watchful children with faint heartbeats and great destinies, mistress of a Lisa Frank Dolphin journal that waited faithfully in her plaid backpack, whose pages loved to be petted apart in the bathroom stall, she now specializes in extraction. She thinks too much about learning how deep teeth went, waiting in Dr. Varveen's office chair at age 6, the long white roots in the red soil. Horrible, horrible. Because the knowledge of this depth contained within it the specter of the self pulled to pieces, and how much of her would need to remain for her to be her. Ironic what she turned into, or maybe not. Maybe all children are afraid of the naked part of ourselves. Patients came with hapless molars, and she drew the sensation from their jaws with a needle, told them pulling sometimes felt like pushing. Sometimes they wanted to keep the teeth, like pets, like tiny crowns for the next more royal chapter. Usually, they rejected them. Gemma would leave them on the tray for a while, dipped in wet red, little paintbrushes rattling against the metal when Brittany went down the hall to restock the toilet paper. Orphaned parts, once so intimate, now so trifling, so beside the point. She could usually get down as many words as teeth each day. 6, maybe 8, maybe 10. At this rate, a 300-page novel would take her 300 words per page times 300 pages divided by 6 words per day divided by 365 days, 41 years. She would be old then, very old. Perhaps toothless, perhaps bodiless. She assumed the muses had abandoned her, that she was chiseling each word from her own pain, but they were doing their part, distantly but dutifully. Selling dirt cheap candy at card tables around the corners from movie theaters, buying up and throwing out all the toothbrushes in lower Manhattan of a Tuesday, just because they liked Gemma. One even enlisted her leisure-drunk uncle to invest in a company that made fraudulently sugarless gum. Gemma should have been grateful. It could have been so much worse. Those who know anything at all about the muses know they work in mysterious ways. Thank you.
Thank you to the existentially playful Martina Hutchins. Now, Neville, you're still here. I'm so glad. Sitting at the captain's table, it is Neville Johnson. Come on up, Neville.
Thank you. You know, I've never done this before, so I'm enjoying it. I did 3 panels. I thought that was cool. I enjoyed that, and it's a really good organization, and I learned a lot, met some nice people. So I'm going to do, first one is a short poem. There's something called Hello Poetry, which I joined about 5 years ago. Anybody can join. You have to give them poetry, and then people vote on it. And if I do well, I'll get 100, or so. This first poem I'm doing, I did about 3 or 4 years ago, and by far it's the one that got the most attention, 5,700 likes. So you might want to check it out. I've enjoyed it. Her face is like a poem, her heart a willow tree, bending softly in the moonglow, beating always for me. She's the bell in my distance, the hearth at home, with me everywhere, even when I'm alone. In the desert, she is water. She's the forest and the trees. Everything she is to me, everything. So that's going to be a song. John is my band leader. I need a band as well. And I've written a lot of songs with him in Maryland, and we've had a lot of fun. So this is a poem. I was reading a tab, and it was Sharon Stone had gone off with the grip, and I said, that's me. So it goes like this. You are everything and I'm nothing but a former savage in the house of dreams, trying to be noticed, an extra in your scene, your best boy, your key grip, pulling focus, framing what should be. The leading man is the follower. The stuntman will fall for you. The director needs some guidance. He's just another love-struck fool. Your trailer is their shrine, but your casting couch is mine. I know bad actors could not love you half as much as me. I'm the prisoner of your conscience. Please have clemency. Let's go on location, a rugged adventure shoot. I will be your entourage. We'll be in cahoots. With privacy and loving arms enough to make you see that someday make-believe can come true. Thank you. So, the last one, I read an interview with Johnny Cash saying, yeah, Joan, she protects me from myself. Well, that gave me the first line of the song. That's just funny how when you're writing, you start off with one line and suddenly you have a whole poem. She used to protect me from myself, and she could see them coming before I'd even tell the joke, and she would laugh as we'd stroll along the avenue. Once we were on fire, something new. Betsy and me had a rhythm that all could see, and everybody that we knew said they knew we would be together, that we would come through, but events overtook us. She pressured me. I was in school. The old flame still burns on. Some burn eternally. That old flame had a burning desire that always enveloped, engulfed, covered, and comforted me. 7 years later, I was down at the store. Saturday morning, doing my chores. Surprise, surprise, was a tap from behind. I smelled smoke. Sure enough, it was fire. Betsy and me took a walk through town. Heads did swivel, tongues did wag. Everywhere we went, we heard the same tag. Can you believe what's headed our way? It's the 2 old flames. Those redheads are back. The old flame still burns on. Some burn eternally. That old flame had a burning desire that always enveloped, engulfed, covered, and comforted me. Well, the flame burned on into the night. This is no exaggeration. It's still burning bright. Sometimes an old flame must test its strength in the wind. But when 2 old flames get together, you call it fire, don't you? And she still protects me from myself. She can see them coming before I even tell the joke, and she'll just laugh as we stroll along the avenue. We're still on fire. Something new. I'll give you this little tip, which I've been saying for a long time. There are 4 kinds of poems in the world. I want the girl, I have the girl, I miss the girl, and car songs, which are about peace in the world, occasions where people get together about poetry, Argentina or cars.
Neville Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. Bonus poetry lessons. All right, let's welcome up Melissa Hops. Melissa, come on up, please.
Good evening. Look at how many people are still here. And you're all waiting to read, right? So these poems are written, on the BART going to work. I don't have to do that anymore, thank goodness, but I try to make the best of what we have. Dawn on a work day. Held in petals of a tulip tree, my sleeping bed floats from helium balloon strings. Anchored to concrete, 6 lanes of traffic are whipped by the reins of a charioteer. Trains skim along the jump rope tracks. Souls roller coaster the sea of city streets. Tentacle legs wash pools of sunlight under the rocks of buildings, where I grip the shelf of a metal desk. Abalone tongues slide open for business. If you think of the sun as being an abalone, a pomegranate, if you think of the sun as being a pomegranate, all those seeds from the pomegranate can fertilize the whole world. Pomegranate sun. If the sun can crack through clouds and shoot a bow of hope, and the red ripening pomegranates split open, then clusters of seeds must tumble out for my hunger and your parched lips. In humans, the germinating passionate impulse continues. The amniotic sac peels away from womb no longer needed. Voluminous life explodes into a familiar breath cry, pleading to suck, be wrapped in cloth, to breathe the burning air. I unbelt my robe to the rainbow. Let us dive too. Plummet with a parachute and roll. Scuttle the shell cloth into a bonfire. Make it hot enough to lift our cries of grief above the land of last year's smoke. The smoke of so many old, burned shells. Between our lips, the songs exhilarate on steady wing beats.
Thank you, Melissa. Next up is Nove Myers. Come on up, Nove. It's your turn.
So another prose break. I'm going to read a short selection from my memoir, Running Away from the Circus, Confessions of a Carny Kid Who Tried to Become a Priest. And I was honored that my work was selected as a grand prize winner in the writing contest for the 2020 San Francisco Writing Contest. So thank all you folks very much. I call this little piece, this little part, Sex in the Seminary. And if any of you don't know what the seminary was or is, it was a jail, I mean it was a boarding school where you went when you were 13, a boy did, and you stayed for 12 years while they taught you how to become a Catholic priest. No. This one word, those 2 little letters, not only encapsulated, but pretty much exhausted the Roman Catholic Church's teaching on human sexuality as it rushed headlong into the 1960s. I'm not referring to just what was expected of future celibates, but almost everybody. It started with the Church's first family, Joseph and Mary, not Adam and Eve. They got Jesus without having sex. And since the Catholic Church taught that JC was an only child, they kept at it, the no sex part. Joseph spent untold hours in his carpenter shop making chairs. It's unnecessary to speculate about what Mary did, since proper ladies never talked about such things. In order to perpetuate the species, a minor exception was permitted. Couples, one male and one female only, please, were permitted to copulate under certain rigid conditions. First, they had to be married, not only legally, but also in the church. Then they had to have the right intention, meaning if they're getting it on, always had to be open to the production of a new junior. Pleasure, while sometimes unavoidable in these situations, was begrudgingly acknowledged by the church through clenched teeth, but it had to be entirely secondary. At least you could think about it. Well, no. We finally found out what sister meant when she had us include unspecified bad thoughts in our second grade confessions. As our otherwise moral 39th president, Jimmy Carter, would later acknowledge, even lusting in one's heart fell into the no category, and he isn't even Catholic. Well, how about leaving everybody else alone and just taking care of yourself? Again, no. Masturbation, AKA self-abuse, was about the biggest sin an adolescent, seminarian or otherwise, could commit. And we're not talking about your everyday venial sin here, even though for many of us it was at least a daily occurrence. If you wanked your weenie and didn't get to confession before one of your classmates drowned you in the swimming pool or something, you'd go straight to DHELL. There was an unmarked but very real line from the Playboy magazine hidden under your mattress to the confessional box, where one of the seminary's dozen or so priests was always ready to hear you confess your indiscretion. How did we hear about all this? From God's golden record. Once a year, Father David, our religion teacher, would pull out his golden record. The LP really was a translucent gold color, and set it to spin on a portable record player while he absented himself from the classroom for the 20 minutes or so it took to play. The time has dimmed my memory of many of the specifics of that golden record. If the record held any record at all, it was probably for misconceptions and inaccurate information. As teenage boys, we all acted much better informed about the birds and the bees than we actually were, but even we could have taught that record a thing or two. It was mostly about what we weren't supposed to do, or what we were supposed to do to avoid the things we weren't supposed to do. We'd all so given up on avoiding masturbation that none of the record's advice, which probably included tidbits such as praying the rosary, fingering the beads instead of ourselves, or taking a cold shower, would have even registered. The record probably went on to note the convoluted reasons why God, who had provided us with the equipment, forbade its use. Our concerns were more practical. If we had any fears, they focused less on the likelihood of going to hell than getting caught in the act or going blind, as an old wives' tale warned. If there is any silver lining to this, it was the Catholic belief in confession. Wank your weenie, fess up, go to Holy Communion, repeat as necessary. and that was it. Theoretically, I guess, listening to that record prepared us not only to remain chaste ourselves, but to counsel our parishioners after ordination. And while we were listening to that golden record, not 100 miles away, half the guys in our generation, the ones not getting blown to bits in Vietnam, were screwing their brains out with hippie chips in San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you, Nove. And next up is Chris Morgan. Chris, come on up, please.
How am I supposed to compete with that? I mean, that was awesome. Wanking your weenies in seminary class. Like, I got nothing like that. I got nothing like that. All right, thank you, everyone. My name is Chris Morgan. Amanda, this is your fault for dragging me out. I'm going to get you for this. So the first poem I'm going to read here, this would give you kind of a good idea of the part of the world where I grew up. If any of you ever grew up in the sort of rural American West, you kind of know all of these forces at play all at once. This is a poem that's called Why I Don't Dance. About once or twice a month, we would schedule a band to come down from the city and set up their equipment beneath the no smoking museum piece hanging from a nail at the south end of the hangar. the old Air Force Base having long since fallen into disrepair. Peace is hell. The dance organizers made sure to book swing bands or jazz bands or even rock and roll, disregarding raised eyebrows from elders in hopes of attracting the young people, since dances, like weddings, should showcase the young, with elders reduced to showpieces. We would justify these dances by tying in a 4-H fundraiser dinner or charity auction, which always was poorly attended since the same 10 items were donated. And us guys, we would polish our automobiles and dress in black suits and shine underprivileged shoes and dollop up our hair like movie stars. And the music would resonate, rattle off the beams, and our feet would ache because they don't park airplanes on parquet dance floors. And the bands we booked would usually play 2 sets in exchange for a few $100 and all the apple pie they could stomach. But we stipulated they return to the makeshift stage for an encore, at which point in time, us guys would stop being friends. We'd elbow and trample, skid across the concrete to grab the last dance with the prettiest girl. Mothers would blush for their daughters' catches, and they'd offer up invites for dessert, tea. Our proudest citizens met their wives this way. We are a small town in the wheat fields off the highway, and we love the orange of harvest moons. This is a poem that I originally wrote while listening to radio overnight. I then lost the poem. I then apparently recited it in a drunken state to a friend of mine who insisted that I recite it again as he recorded it, so that he could then give it to me to write it down. And I'm kind of like, I said that? What? So it's had many lives. It's had more lives than Morris the cat. And this is a poem. It's called Gemini Radio. If you want to play something like kind of ambient terror sort of, sinister, kind of classic rock, or sinister, down below a little bit, you can go for it. Will Vandehart, alias the Will. Dear, dear friend and soul of mine, mans the graveyard post at KGEM, the gem of the Northwest. No man smokes more cigarettes than the Will. He shows up for work 2 minutes before midnight when the idiot, the 8 to 12 guy on acid, has just panicked and put on Freebird because the live version is 13 minutes long and it'll take up 11 minutes of dead air. The 11:58 Freebird has become an institution in this town. The Will gets me drunk every night. We drink about a gallon of gin and wax at afternoon shifts back in New York City, where people would call and threaten to jump off the Brooklyn Bridge if he didn't play the Stones. And the Will would tell them to go to hell, and then he would put on, I can't get no satisfaction, an hour or so later. And he'd then read about it in the New York Times the next day, how the NYPD plucked a dead 23-year-old out of the East River dressed in Altamont Speedway memorabilia. He always sits in a cozy dead cow of a chair which always smells like a bad fashion show. Lots of cologne and cheap Zinfandel, but the Will doesn't mind. The Will is content. This next song, this is for lovers everywhere. This next song is for the moon. This next song is for members of our law enforcement community. This song here is for the people of Tacoma, Washington. Great place, Tacoma. This next song here is for Christopher. It's 2 in the a.m. and he's listening. His girlfriend's asleep and he's got nothing else better to do. The cigarettes dwindle and die in his makeshift ashtray, which is an old disco 45. He bent into a bowl by leaving it out in the sun. The hole at the bottom is sealed with duct tape. Will hates disco. And this song here is for everyone who hates disco. This song here, this is for everyone who hates mimes. This song here, this is for the crack dealer alley, and don't you fuck with this song. This is a bad motherfucker of a song. And it's gonna kick you in the ass. And by 5:45, the Will is confused. He plays Purple Haze and he thinks that he's a prince. He's had an all-night game of Frisbee with the life-size poster of Daltrey on the wall, and he's had to be revived twice by the woman who does the 6 to 9 shift. She always comes early. The Will's voice shakes, hops, skips, and jumps through the static, the sunrise, and the changing pattern, and he bludgeons himself in the head with a paperweight to prove his conviction that he is the only one who's listening right now. This song, this one is for lunatics everywhere. This song here is for the dreamers. This next song is for the IRS who thinks I'm either dead or still living in Detroit. This next song is for the redhead who does a magic show in her window every night. I love you. This next song is for the Will. Don't think that this song is for any of you, because it isn't. This song is for both the Joker and the thief, and I know who you are. Hey, Christopher, I can see your house from
here. Thank you, Chris. Let's bring on Nadia Hassan. Nadia, let's hear it go.
I'll be reading 2 poems. Ode to Ex-Husband. When an ex-husband finds his irrelevance at the bottom of his 1000th cigarette, he tells you he's praying for your soul. He's still plying away, gotta squeeze through a crack. This old man's charging through digital words create a magical narrative where the art falls flat, sideways perhaps. When an ex-husband finds himself typing, "I hope you find happiness," he conveys his deepest desire to cancel it. And with every flag pointing north, he will claim they face south. How, he cries, can truth exist without my permission? He circumnavigates the globe, hunting new wife material, gourmandizing every potential, refusing to grasp satiation, escapes greed, and eludes control. An unhappiness goblin, faster than any criminal. This is called Mother. Mother. This child blames her mother for her awkward gait and bad form. She curses her when the playground bully steals her lunch money. Impetuous, this child stops at nothing to devour her, sending spears to attack great whales, biting her breasts, caging her lions, pulling at her tall cedars, and kicking refuse on her water banks. Sashaying inebriated, consuming, hoarding, money mining, selling prime real estate, cutting clippings and marketing strips of her mother, plucking, fishing for diamonds and gold, eating to beer-bellied blubbery and lying, calling it a look, a style, an inclusive beautiful, clinking crystal glasses, sipping on martinis, celebrating the kill song. It's tiresome, this festival, a continuous feed. If she goes, if mother flatlines, so goes Friday Night Lights. There is set a throne atop mother's deteriorating heart. This child will never have what she wants most, mother's invincible summer.
Thank you, Nadia. All right, let's welcome up a conference attendee who's already impressed me 3 different ways. It's Janine Inez. Come on up, Janine.
They say writers can really only write about what they know. That our greatest and most powerful tales come from our lived experience. Even subconsciously, we are excavating on our deepest desires and fears when we craft fiction. And that's all well and good, except recently, I've been writing stories about women who are afraid to fall in love. This poem's called World Big, I Small. The thing is, I'm always falling for the strange ones, like Rosie Hoffeld and Langston Sanchez. You are just another one. I definitely like a mystery, don't I? A person who makes me doubt myself just a little insecure. Someone who reminds me the world is so large and I am so small. Is this perpetually uncool syndrome? Forever at the mercy of the popular kids? I like to be on the outside. That's the thing folks didn't quite get in high school. Yeah, it would have been cool to go to the parties, maybe, but a part of me really relished being on the outside, looking in. When someone is mysterious, it's like they keep me at arm's length, but in a way that says, come in, cute little fly. I am a puzzle. Solve me if you dare. I love feeling lost in a person. It feels like the book I'll never finish reading, sinister. Like hopscotch with laces untied, you remain one step ahead. I trip and skin my knees, tumble, tumble, and tumble down. I fall for you. Because I can count on you to continuously surprise me, show me that which I cannot see, make me reflect on my life and where it could have gone, remind me how vast this life is, make me feel small. I mean, all you really have to do to hook me in this life is show me a song that gets stuck in my head. Every time someone did that to me, I think I tried to marry them. Last poem. It's called Magical Child, age 7. As a child, I always felt magical. In fact, that is the card I pulled from the dusty red box, instructed by my Jamaican grandmother, Mama, whose leathery hands are all that I can seem to recall about her. Her hands and that card, the magical child. I used to believe in magic and believe that it could be found anywhere, even in your home, in your kitchen cupboards, in the rose petals at the bottom of the jar, whose lid you lost some number of dishwasher loads ago, petals you crush with the broad side of Grandpa Len's spoon, which you fervently chanted, I wish I had telekinesis, I wish I had telekinesis. I used to believe in wishes and witches curled up on the puffy green sofa with a bowl of popcorn, old and cracked leather sighing and squeaking beneath me, perpetually shielding from incoming leathery hands. As I watched Charmed, I used to believe. Back then, I waited for a sign, a sliver of feeling or shimmer in dust motes twirling in the afternoon sun. I waited for something, anything I was sure would come and summon me to a greater purpose, a destiny, to who I was truly meant to be. I really must try and paint this picture for you. Imagine a high place, a pulse of wind, a sense of grandiosity, the profound knowing that I am special. Now I see it as my writer's imagination. But then I felt it was what made me chosen, convinced that there had to be more to life, unable to grasp it, but convinced and convicted, with the same amount of fervor Judge Judy exudes whenever she slams her gavel down onto the podium, down onto someone else's fate. I used to wonder, if she can control fate, then why can't I? If Beverly Cleary can tell stories, why can't I? Those were the words my mother said I spoke to her as a magical child, age 7.
Thank you, Janine. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, good news. We're on page 2. Let's welcome up Susan Deluyich. Come on up, Susan.
It's telling me the document is unavailable.
Can't hear.
Can't hear a word. Is it because I don't have internet here?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Oh no.
Oh, shoot.
Let's see. Let's try the second one. Sorry, something went wrong. I can't do it. That sounds like a ball.
Load it up and come back.
Yeah.
Load it up and come back.
I'll bring it back.
I'll call you back.
Darn.
And John was finally given something to play on the keyboard. Maybe Jordan will tell him something. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Jordan Pastor. Jordan.
All right, so I actually have a little bit of a short introduction for you all. So I'm Jordan Pastor. I am typically the only Generation Z gay Filipino writer that people know. So if you know anyone else like that, please do put them, let me know about them. Aside from that, tonight I'm going to be reciting from a poetry collection I'm trying to get published right now called Technicolor Modern Folklore of the Bay Marshes. And essentially, it's a series of poems, but it's also my love letters to the wetlands that are here. What it was, who it is, and all of whom call it home. Tonight, as I stand here before all of you, I sense that chapter 1 in my life is finally coming to an end, and chapter 2 starts right now. So, with that said, this is San Pablo Avenue Mustang. Cartwheels to the piers in our disco glam, pink loft party fever, Oakland, Amsterdam. Some say the light show blinds your mind and dries it up in vain like Sonoma wine. He's posted at the door like a temple guard, wasting nights in Berkeley since he lost his stars, drinking grape ices on the boulevard. He said to me, survival never gets less hard. This is why he left his girls at home, 3 a.m. In the driveway, he'll shut the door alone. If they wake up now, even then they wouldn't know about the kerosene trail of midnight fires he stole. The first round of shots is on him, riding in his blue Mustang, Miss Gwendolyn. We'll break into the cargo port on shaking limbs. He'll kiss me on the crane and I'll fall from it again. Why would we bleed the throttle out till then? Take me 120 miles, gentlemen. He'll ponder on his losses, but hold me up instead, cause the rap game he played never won him Benjamins. His dream was to pop up on the radio, possessing SoundCloud fantasizer afterglow. He clutched my frame tight as if someday I'd know. He's the thunder on San Pablo, and his verses are the roar. The eyes of the articulate Alameda stallion are dripping with folk tales and haunting like carrion. His temptation is a glove that could lift me in the air. And on the crane, he's aggressive, but you'd see me up there. Gwendolyn the Mustang, you see how I'm too trusting. We might die tonight, or we might just get busted. The second round of shots is on him. He's so lusty, twirling on the streets in Oakland, Amsterdam, fucking. I feel so alive, don't dare close your eyes. Tattoo guns write out the name of our gospel drive. Save the inclines, we're not too scared to die. We'll get to the top of Mount Olympus tonight. We saw 14 white egrets pass the Richmond Islands, glossing through the air, like the Long Bridge's nightmen. Do they hear his grand thunder too? Would they dance on the bar to it, like I do?
Well done, Jordan. Thank you very much. All right, now it's time for some karma. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is. She'll read you a poem, she'll make you a website. It's Karma!
Okay, I heard I can get away with doing two, so I'm gonna. This is a poem about Ohio, and if you have a degree in creative writing, you might notice it's a pantoum. Ohio is run by Barbie and kin, concupiscent for nail polish and nukes. Ohio says McCarthyism will rise once again, the consumer culture ready to puke. Ohio is concupiscent for nail polish and nukes. Boys are concertina wire and turpentine. Ohio is the consumer culture ready to puke. Girls are confection and women are concubines. Ohio sees no choice but wire and turpentine. The girls have babies, they waitress at Lola's. Ohio sees no choice but confection to concubine. Their children drink condensed milk and colas. Ohio assures they never leave home, they never leave Lola's. Women marry their boss and grow white in patience. Ohio only knows condensed milk and colas. Ladies learn condoms, but no masturbation. Ohio wives pass the time watering impatience. Men trade football and faggot jokes. It's not hard to see. Ohio whispers condoms, but never masturbation. Their state is the comfy that's clogging their arteries. Ohio passes time with faggot jokes. It's not hard to see. McCarthy the hero rules once again. Ohio is fattening, juicy, and clogging my arteries. Ohio, the minions of Barbie and Ken. Okay, we'll take it a little lighter. This is called Monogamy Sticks to Me. Monogamy sticks to me like maple syrup. Get a taste of someone, and I'm too lazy to wash my hands of them. Just that sticky sweet that stays between your fingers and under your nails, and 2 days later when you thought you were done with it, it's still on your shoelaces. Monogamy is nice, but Skittles would be great. That's how I imagine polyamory. Taste the rainbow. A variety of flavors that combines just right in your mouth. Sinful, a bit too saccharine, but still unsatiated. And who am I kidding? I go for the Reese's Pieces every time. But my sweetie says, don't you know, Skittles all taste the same. He's a real Reese's Piece, that one. While I'm mixing metaphors, monogamy sounds like a flower, a sprightly weed that grows everywhere, up through the cracks in the basement. Monogamy like kudzu, cloaking the shared calendar, twisting tendrils around 2 toothbrushes, and pushing its pollen in a gust out the wide open bathroom door. Monogamy, beautiful and green, filling my nostrils with scent until I faint in a bed of sticky, wet petals.
Thank you, Karma. All right, here she is for take 2. It's Susan Daluyich. Let's feel the
Thank you for your patience, and thank
thank you for the kind person who tried to help me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The candle speaks. You plucked me from a display, looked at my bottom, sniffed me the way a dog checks out another. You read the label, hoping it said soy, pero yo no soy. Soy wax, probably paraffin, a petroleum product. If you had known, would you have put me in your cart? Yeah, my gestation lasted eons. I'm sorry, my throat is croaky. Yeah, my gestation lasted eons, but you still like me, don't you? You like my shade, pale sage. You're fond of shady things, dappled sunlight teasing through branches, waving their leafy fingers. I heard you sigh when you caught my scent, notes of vanilla and amber. I'm stout and tall, for a candle that is. I'll make a stately figure when you set me in that fancy glass dish. You like me, you really like me. You'll light my wick, watch my flame, take in the ambiance I create. Do you have a lover? When I burn, remember this, I'm not renewable. Okay, this next one is a little bit of Ars Poetica, poetic license. How do I get one? Is there a quiz? What are the rules? Can I study before the exam? Is there an eye test too? Cover the third eye and look within? Should I signal before verbing off subject, before metaphoring? If I get lost, can I GPS my way back to the point? Is there a speed limit for spilling ink? For keyboard clicks? How many words per minute may I go? How many feet per meter required before breaking? Can verse be free, untaxed? Do we write risque at red lights? May I text while writing? Must the lines be parallel, or can they be skewed? Is rhyme permitted, required? What poetic justice is there for broken rules? How much does a poetic license cost?
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, John. Now let's welcome up Kathy Watson. Kathy's still here.
A little short essay from my blog from several years ago entitled Some Thoughts on the Royals' Underwear. When Princess Diana was alive, I read that the royals threw away their underwear after one wearing. I was thinking of that this morning as I replaced the worn-out elastic in the waist of a skirt I bought in 1992. A skirt so old the company that sold it, J. Crew, was sold off, tossed off the stock exchange like yesterday's panties. Are the royals' nether regions so yucky that dropping their underpants in a bin is the only thing to do? Maybe the royals are too shy to present their streaky underthings to the royal laundress. Or is it, as I suspect, simple excess? Could it be the whole underwear thing is at the root of the recently departed Queen's disdain for Diana and her testiness at times with Kate and especially Meghan? Something tells me the Queen was a game enough girl to make it through World War II with a stiff upper lip and her underwear on rotation. Princesses these days. As I thread a piece of elastic through my skirt's old waistband, I think about all the places this skirt, size medium, 100% rayon, made in Singapore, dry clean only, and I have been together. It is one of those classic pieces that still to my eye seems to be in style. Though you could argue that at 67 I ought to be wearing something longer and less swishy.
I bought it when I was the communications manager for the Oregon Economic Development Department. Its chief charm was that it didn't wrinkle and I could throw it in a suitcase with a blazer and flats and wear it to a museum dedication or the tour of a medium density fiberboard plant or to a governor's speech. I wore it with gray cashmere twin set and brown boots to the police academy graduation for my son. Banquet chairs, train seats, bar stools, bus benches. It's been everywhere. Worth repairing. Rayon has the half-life of plutonium. Now that my skirt's waistband is no longer sagging like an old lawn chair, I can wear it out to dinner tonight. I'll be pairing it with sandals and my husband's favorite black blouse, which I bought at Ross's Dress for Less 8 years ago for $17. I think the Queen would have liked me.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Let's bring up Maria. Maria, are you still here? Yes, of course she is. It's about time we get some finished poetry at the mic.
So my name is Maria. I took off my glasses so I can't see anything. So these are poems from the Arctic. Life in the negative. Under a black sky, on land that is white, we live life in the negative, where the sun drags itself across the horizon, only playing with us, never rising, vanishing as quickly as it appears, where the air is a breathless punch of 100 little needles. Here the northern wind blows tiny ice confetti in celebration of stillness, and the wind drills into the bones of those who dare to challenge its superiority, its life in the negative. We remember the dead with a sea of candles, warm flames breaking the rules. Here on the rim of civilization, even the dead are cold. Up here, winter is not a season, but a way of life. Up on the rim, there are only varying degrees of winter, punctuated by flashes of summer. That is so that we can tell the winters one from another. And that's how it should remain here on the Arctic rim. And this one's untitled. Cool passions smothered by frigid hostilities, bright nights darkened by sunless days, June rain congealed by December sludge, blueberries and chandeliers of ice ripened by the same Arctic sun. In a still rebellion, we sit in silent chatter, of questions not asked, yet somehow answered, living a life of moderate extravagance, of hidden dreams, frozen to life by the Arctic winds.
Thank you, Maria. I think the Finnish tourist board should hire her. Let's welcome up Burton Weber. Burton, are you ready?
Hi, everybody. I just briefly wanted to thank John for the outstanding job he's done on the piano. I know it's going to be I'm picked out by how he knows when everything's going to end like that. So I appreciate the opportunity here. This is my first time to be at the conference, and I'm very impressed. I've got to tell you, you people all really cry a lot. Some of you have come to know me as the Horseman because I've written a memoir about my tit-for-tat pranking war with my CEO, culminating in me attempting to sneak a horse into his hotel room. And except for Elizabeth and Aaron, who have come to know me as Scrotum Man for some other reason, but I guess that's a story for next year. I'd like to read you an excerpt from my book, and it's prose. Let me set the scene. The previous night, I had attempted to steal a horse and sneak it into my CEO's hotel room. This is the second night. This time, it's about 1 a.m., it's Colorado mid-ranges, and I have recruited 2 new colleagues who are extremely macho, cisgen males, and they are both incredibly junk. One of them, Alex, claims that he knows how to bridle a horse, and sorry, that's Pete, and then young Alex. This is called Horses Don't Hang Around with Pussies. Alex, you don't like hanging around with pussies, do you, man? Pete asked him with a condescending chuckle. No, Pete, I guess I don't. Alex shrugged his shoulders at me. Well, neither do horses, dude, Pete said. Horses don't want to be hanging around with pussies. You gotta show them who's boss. In the 22 hours since Katie the pony had slipped out of her bridle, I had apparently not learned much about communicating with horses. Pete, Alex, and I had approached Katie in complete darkness, not wanting to startle her. I had greeted her in soft, high tones like I was addressing a terrified 2-year-old child who was woken up in the dark after a nightmare. Hello, Katie. Hello, puppy. I hear they have lots of nice green apples for you over in Willow West. I cooed in a sing-songy voice. That isn't how you talk to a horse. No, Bert, Pete admonished me. Shit. No wonder she ran away from you last night, sounding like a goddamn pussy, he scolded me. I had learned my lesson about communicating with horses. They're extremely anti-pussy. Pete went quiet. I got the impression that he and Alex were waiting for me to show them that I could show Katie who was boss. Unlike many people in commercial real estate, I didn't have a strong desire to impose my will upon others. Apart from the one time when I pranked my shit-faced boss by telling them that he was about to pee in a urinal rather than the Japanese maintenance closet he was standing in, I guess you could say I was nice. It was a constant topic of discussion during my annual reviews. I needed to be more assertive. However, I rarely put in the effort. So when I really needed to show that I was being more assertive, I tended to be out of practice and overcompensate, like a boxer who doesn't know how to pull his punches. I turned to Katie and scowled at her. Katie, you fucking bitch! I screamed in her face, letting all the frustration from the previous night come out. Don't you dare fucking run on me again! I jerked my fist downward like a white rapper as I yelled. Shush, dude, what the fuck's gotten into you? Keep your fucking voice down, Pete scolded again as he looked over his shoulder to see if anybody had heard my sudden outburst. Fuck, dude, Alex was perturbed too. Jeez, I mean, even John Wade never yelled at his horses. Thank you.
Thank you, Bert, and let's welcome up for a short poem, it's Beth Mondock. Beth, come on up, please.
Hello. It's late. It's about an hour past my bedtime. So, I'm going to keep this short, sweet, and straight to the point. The title of this poem is the second poem I've ever written, so I'm no longer a beginner. It's called Please, Let's Go to the Sea. How nice would it be to go down to the sea, if not for the money? Well, he used to be funny. Now complains to all he meets about this unbearable heat. But not by the sea, I peep. He looks, I flinch, the creep. But mine till death to keep, by working 60-hour weeks, getting him something to eat, massaging his throbbing feet. Still thinking how it would be neat, after ironing this crimson sheet, to go down to the cool blue sea. Oh, how nice it would be. Thank you.
One and done. Thank you for modeling that for all of us, Beth. And now let's hear from Terry Tierney. Welcome back, Terry, to the open mic, the San Francisco Writers Conference.
Thank you. I'm Terry Tierney, and this poem is based on a news article about the James Webb Telescope, and also the fact that the telescope is so powerful that it can actually look back in time. The James Webb Telescope detects a heartbeat. They say the pulses come from a distant galaxy, an infinite cluster, in the first moment of birth. But I wonder if the heartbeat is yours, there in your nebula of blood and gas, mindlessly chewing the corners of your blanket with toothless gums, your eyes still shut to screaming light. The weave of distance and time, where you will always be our first child, the edge of our farthest vision. We squint in every spectrum just to see you the way you are, though we know it's the way you were, what you might have been, larger than we can imagine, and farther than any lost prayer, your growth beyond our lifespan. What do you see when you look our way? Are we even there, or are we infants like you?
Thank you, Terry. And next up, we have Danielle Perlin. Good. Come on up, Danielle.
Hi, everybody. My name's Danielle. This is a poem that I wrote on my daughter's first birthday about my birth experience with her. This is called Dreamscape. Yellow illuminates your delicate room as my eyes slowly flutter close. We rock. My love for you astounds me. Icy sleds bumping each other. Test is positive just hours after. 6 weeks to be precise. The Beatles, Wicked, Be Okay play. Just breathe, they say. Ocean blue surrounds me as tools prod and prick, aren't they just slick? They make their way to you until the blue sees you, 39 weeks to be precise. Yet the bright lights can't help the air flow into your lungs faster, and so I held you the day after you were born. Run, hurry, hold. Screams echoing the NICU, too far for my arms to reach you. Blood threatens the pristine white sheets. Liquid drops melt into my cheeks. Catch up, body, catch up. Happy face, happy life. Isn't this supposedly just right? Smile, dear, tell me her name. Maybe I could meet her first? Well, isn't this a fun game of waiting, wishing, hoping, praying, can't hear what they're saying. You can see her now, let's take you down. A crack of a smile joins my eye. Was this the ultimate prize? Footsteps rise and fall as my wheels scatter through the silent hall. Clock strikes 3 and they're done stalling as I'm bawling. To wrap myself in your 7-pound, 6.5 ounces embrace, my palm was the size of your face. Tiny wires drape around your nose, like the sharp edge of an ice crystal or rose, full of wonder, magic, merriment. Nurses give us a hint, to touch and to hold. Your fingers were cold, yet then you were mine and I was fine, just fine, just fine. 24 hours to be precise. Plastered smiles make up the room. Normal life does resume. He hugs and shouts and whispers and hits, but you still love him to bits. Tickling gives us the gift of your laughter, and so we sing faster. Berries stain your clothes, bibs can't catch all of those. Warm energy around, let us surround you. 365 days, to be precise. Wake up. 1 year. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Now let's welcome up John Patterson. John.
Thank you, Dr. Andy. I appreciate this. This is the prose. Thank you. So this is from my memoir. Last year I read a story about my parents going on a drive looking for land in the desert in Southern California and coming across some buildings that were built to see what the effects of atomic testing would be. This is when I'm 6 years old. We lived on a dirt road, and this is context now. And the field behind us was sandy and loamy and a lot of tumbleweeds, and we built forts there, and the kids went out in the back and played all day. Ooh. And then we decided to dig some holes to build some forts, and we dug some that were deeper than we could reach the tops. And this is from a chapter called The Hand of Power. And what we were trying to do, we played chase games, and the context, taking a long time, anyway, was trying to prevent the bad guys from getting out of jail, which was the bottom of the 2 holes with connecting tunnels. I felt the full shovels and dirt bombs and pushed dirt landing on my shoulders. I couldn't lift my head because the dirt had caved on it. I tried to push backwards in the dirt. I gasped, and after pushing back with my arms and legs, I was gasping, face down, my head out, but now being buried. I felt tired and hot all over. My head and chest were burning. I tried to breathe. My mouth was full of dirt. I rested a second, felt more dirt on my back with light thumps. The dirt was not hitting me, but other dirt on top of me. It seemed like a war, a strange thought. I'm still being buried. I can't rest. I tried to roll over. I was moving slow, but felt more thumps. But not the dirt hitting me. It was hitting dirt. I was covered now. I couldn't sit up. I pulled my arms up through the dirt and started to swim around my head, trying to pull my dirt down around my head into a space I tried to make while sitting up. I did it. I was sitting up, but I couldn't move my legs just to stand up. They were heavy. It was dark. I kept swimming up, trying to crawl onto my feet and crawl through the dirt up. I thought about Dad. I couldn't yell for him now. I tried to swim up the dirt faster, wanting to feel the air. I knew I couldn't stop. I did one hand, then the other, each time moving dirt past my face to keep a tiny open space in front of my head. It wasn't easy. I couldn't go as fast as I wanted. My head was so hot. My chest felt like it would burst. My arms and legs ached. I reached up again. And this time, I saw something in a way I'd never seen. I was in the air above the field, looking down. I saw my dad in his red checkered shirt. I hadn't seen him all day. I thought I was just picturing that in my head. From above, my dream continued. I saw him stop by the hole, look around, and reach down into the dirt over his wrist. This happened quickly as I brought my left arm down and reached my right hand up to swim and kick up a little higher. I had dirt in my mouth, nose, and eyes. I wondered how far up I had to go. Everything had been getting hot around my head, and now even though I had dirt in my eyes, everything started to seem like it was white. At the same time, I was watching him from the air again. I knew I was just hoping and hoping he would be there. I knew you couldn't see him from the air, I continued. From above, I saw him stick his arm in the dirt. I moved my hand over a little further to the right while also laughing at myself because I knew it was ridiculous to reach for this vision I saw in my head. I knew I should be reaching straight up and try to get at least one more reach with my left hand. I felt like I'd been done for the last couple of reaches. It was almost impossible to move, to get anything, to do anything. I was terrifyingly hot. But right exactly where my hand reached up, it happened. His hand grabbed mine. We locked hands like we were shaking hands. And from above, I watched him as he pulled my body right out, and I kept climbing with my other arm and legs. He was wearing his new red checkered shirt, just like I saw it when I first saw him from above walking towards the hole. I hadn't seen Dad that day. I imagined it was my dad and pictured him as being there when he grabbed me. I hadn't seen him all day. It was Sunday. He worked Tuesday to Saturdays, getting off at 3 p.m. I knew he didn't have his work shoes on. I knew that because I saw him from above. He helped me brush off a little dirt, and he brushed off my hair a couple of times. "How much do you play in the field?" he asked. "All the time, but that never happened before." I picked up the shovel, he nodded, and we started walking home. Everyone else was walking home all in different directions. "Dad, how much had you been digging for me?" "John, I hadn't. I was wondering where you were. I went over to all the loud kids. I saw the shovels and they were leaving. I didn't see you, and all of a sudden I just bent down and stuck my hand in the dirt as far as I could. And I felt your hand immediately. We just grabbed each other perfectly, so I pulled you out. You saw my hand, right?" "Yeah," I said, but I knew my yeah meant something totally different than what he meant and thought.
What a story. Thank you, John. And now let's welcome up to the microphone Pat Doyne. Pat, are you still here, Pat? Oh, what a shame, Pat's not here. Let's move on to Bob Stevens. Bob Stevens, going once, going twice. All right. We may finish before Sunday. Let's bring up Jay Schwartz and his band. Come on up, Jay.
I'm going to sing you guys a song, but before I sing the song, I want to remind everybody about the importance of persistence. This is from a Grimm Brothers fairy tale. There's this emperor, and he asks the shepherd's boy how many seconds there are in eternity. And the shepherd boy says, "Imagine a mountain made of pure diamond. It takes an hour to go over and an hour to go around. And every 100 years, a little bird comes and sharpens his beak on the peak of that mountain. And when that mountain is finally ground down to nothing, 1 second of eternity will have passed." Now, you might think that's a hell of a long time, but me, I think that's a hell of a bird. And if you know where that was used recently, I say recently, but it was about 8 years ago, you can come up and talk to me later because we're going to be good friends. Oh, yes, turn me on. Okay, so this is a song I wrote, gosh, quite a few years ago, and it is, Sure. All right, there's 2 verses and the bridge, 2 verses, the bridge. All right, so if you've ever been dragged to a party that you didn't want to go to and it didn't end well, this song may resonate with you. Smile
DJ. Some of you are thinking, well, if all of the rest of the poets play the guitar, I could stay awake for another half hour. Now let's welcome up, if she's here, Leslie Kurt Campbell. Come on up, Leslie. I'm gonna start telling you all who comes after the poet who's coming up so that you can be all the more ready with your entrance. For instance, next up is Rhiannon Briggs.
So I'm going to read the first couple pages of City of Angels in my book of short stories, The Man with 8 Pairs of Legs, came out in 2022. Taking you back to a bunch of 13-year-olds in LA, 1965. City of Angels. We wanted to be ravished. The Jewish girls leaving their nouveau riche houses on the east side of Overland Avenue. The Catholic girls released from their meager tract homes on the west. We were the popular girls and the wannabes. Every Saturday morning, we piled onto the Pico No. 7 bus at the corners of Beverwell and Manning, where we met the opposite sex, pop, nerd, and dweeb, and rode west, a ride without parents, heaven waiting at the end of the line. I was a wannabe, a flat, skinny, Protestant Jewish mongrel, a girl without prospects, attached at the hip to my best friend, a beauty with full Sephardic lips and black hair. Yet those Saturdays felt like my heaven too, as the big bus roared in us, opening the throttle to last weekend spin the bottle in someone's cold basement, our skinny Liz Claiborne beachwear smelling like new blue crystal tide. We were a busload of angels, buoyant in the glare of the Southern California sun, blasting our windows. Did you see the size of his thing? My best friend whispered in my ear, referring to the burly bus driver in dazzle mirror shades with his foot on the thrust lever, the man who ferried us every weekend to the promised land. I hadn't noticed. Amazing, I whispered back as we pushed our way through the crowded aisle to the screaming back of the bus and scooched thigh to thigh onto the hot vinyl seat. I inhaled her aquanet. I savored the sweet citrus on her breath. She who, after years of hopscotch and sleepovers, harmonizing Girl Scout camp songs and cracking up over tuna salad on Ritz, so suddenly had the uncanny ability to detect penile attributes within the folds of baggy pants on any boy or man and from any distance. Since 3rd grade, we'd spent every spare minute swapping jokes, tears, and confidences. Hey, Susie, Joyce, she said, twisting around to the popular girls and blowing them kisses. It was the summer of 1965. I was losing her. The promised land was Santa Monica Beach. Wide as the Mississippi, a place where algebra equations and 7th grade report cards dissolved, along with all recollection of metal lockers banging between periods or cavernous hallways the color of stale chocolate. We disembarked in chatty clusters, lured by the Pacific blaze of heat and salt air, and headed to Station 8, where the nerds and dweebs respectfully fanned out and disappeared, leaving us the prime real estate. Here, below the lifeguard station, the lanky brown-haired boys spread their bold beach towels gently on the sand, jangling their silver ID bracelets, a kind of mating call, their junior high school rings glinting carmine, prospecting for love. A few feet away, the popular girls laid down their unmolested bodies. A menagerie of nubile breasts lurking in their falsy AAA bikini cups, or for the chosen few plump as cassava melons. The popular boys, now naked to the waist, long to touch just one with newly bar mitzvahed hand or tongue. Meanwhile, the girls swooned in their own 18-karat flotsam crucifixes and stars of David hanging from their necks. The lone Gentile boy, a blonde surfer, proffered his coveted St. Christopher on his sun-baked chest. By the end of the day, it would surely be dangling in some frisky girl's cleavage. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Rhiannon. It's Rhiannon Briggs. Next up will be Norm Winter. Come on up, Rhiannon.
My mom will be sad if I don't have a picture taken. Okay. Another day, always moments away from shaking, and I have learned that my brain is the entire entropic universe, rearranged into memories. Moments, and it is the universe again. Sorry, struggling to find it. Okay, this one is called Tonka's written at Pebble Beach while Samantha naps on her towel. Gliding cormorants and what togetherness must be, winged time, clear reflecting sky, rocks and stones, and the glinting just between. It was born, lived, beaten, tossed, and worn down by the crashing, encroaching roar, now to lie, silent old epiphany, on the palm that took it, shining from the mother who gasps, please, over my feet, to the infinite soon I return. Don't worry, see, your shell daughter is me and not mine. Time and time and time again, I pray I am ocean and, one day, a wave over rocks. I have one more, but it's teeny tiny, and I realized I totally forgot to ask for music. It's like so short, but could I get a little slow minor blues? That's out of pragmatism and not artistic choice because I'm learning to play bass guitar, and that's one thing I can't get down. Lust leads only to craving possession, or to craving being possessed. How unenlightened of my bruises they prove I am. When my lover breaks skin, my lover is sorry, and I am not. When my lover wants me, I am sorry, and my lover does not see.
Thank you, Rhiannon. Let's bring up Norm Winter. Norm, are you ready?
I don't know.
And on deck is Lauren Donegas.
I came here last year and it was stunning, this thing. And I'm not a poet. And I'm blunt. And not too descriptive. But I'm a songwriter. But I can't sing. But you're gonna have to bear with it. Have you ever gone to the forest and listened to the earth's song? So sweet, so tender. In a pine forest, I slip and fall upon soft pine needle floors. Look up at the trees as they spread and soar. I'm on the outside, they're on the inside, hoping I want to share. They're on the outside, I'm on the inside, hoping I listen to their prayers. And inside this other world, the trees they twirl and swirl and twirl, softening the roads for us to curl. Trees speak so softly, but there's thunder inside. Hope swallowing the earth's penetrating cry. Plants can't be folded into a hat. They must follow their own path. Our inner world is asymmetrical, majestic. It is the beautiful.
Thank you, Norm. Lauren Domagas is up. Lauren, are you still here? Sigh of relief from everyone. How about Karen with an I? Karen with an I is here. And Karen with an E is next after Karen with an I.
I'm going to read 2 poems. When hello is goodbye. She leaned her softened body heavily on a cane. A crooked smile cracked light from a heart bigger than most would ever know. Not so well, she replied to my vague question, how are you doing? Glinting like obsidian on a hillside, her eyes knew a wider view of things. We had met in a class about how to move in bodies that didn't want to, both healing our spines, relearning how to walk upright, something most people mistake as a given. We were roommates that week of in-depth agony and exploration, bonded forever. Now, her borrowed earth was collapsing quickly. Days clouded by discomforts, she on her sunny island, radiant and remote, with visitors welcome if they could stand the heat. Laughing over our past adventures, we proclaimed enduring love and friendship right there in the produce aisle. Shoppers politely making space as we embraced, her pillowy chest to my birchwood breast. That was the last time I saw her. And this is the hills. The hills. Smelled of earth and musk, dank dew suffused in morning air, a dog's return after a night prowl. How I want to know where you've been, O wandering hillsides of oak and manzanita, bobcats and bats. What night adventures when owl swooped the vole and weasel left her hole. I can tell by your smug smile that you bristled with trotting toes of coyote and scream of doe in anguish. Stories writ in churned soil by centipedes and spells cast by unfurling datura. While, slung in bedsheets, I tossed in dreamless dip and doze on a boring raft of bed, its smell of dead lavender. Then greet the day with too many words and nothing to say.
Thank you, Karen. And how about Karen Favier? Oh, bummer. How about Michaela? Michaela, are you here? She's coming up and she's bringing her own photographer this time. Excellent, that's great. Michaela's gonna offer us something different from what we've been enjoying thus far. Check out what I mean. And after Michaela will be Omar.
Right, so I will actually be reading the Chinese translation of the poem Tiger, Tiger by William Blake, who many credit as the father of the Romanticism era poets. So I'm reading the translation written by Xu Zimo, who is actually credited as the father of modern Chinese poetry. 猛虎，猛虎，火焰似的烧红，在深夜的猛虫，何等神明的巨眼或是手，能壁画你骇人的胸厚，在何等遥远的海底还是天顶，烧着你焰火的纯金。夸什么的翅膀，它胆敢飞了？凭什么手敢擒住那威灵？是何等肩膀，是何等神通，能掉落你丈夫的系统？等到你的心开始了活跃，何等精正的手，何等精正的脚？锤的是什么的罪？使的是什么的炼？在什么红炉里燃液着你的脑液？什么振作？什么海翼的拿把？难赶他凶恶的惊怕擒抓。当群星放射他们的金光，满天上泛滥他们的泪光，见到他们的功臣，他露不露出笑容？追你的不就是那建造小羊的神功？猛虎，猛虎，火焰似的烧红，在深夜的猛虫，何等神明的巨眼或是手，胆敢情化你惊人的红后。So this is the English version, so that you guys will know what I just read. This is the English version of the poem Tiger, Tiger by William Blake. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hands or eyes could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hands dare seize the fire? And what shoulders and what art could twist the sinew of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hands and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp? There its deadly terror clasp. When the stars threw down their spears and water heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb made thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hands or eyes dare frame thy fearful symmetry? Thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. Let's welcome up Omar Shaker. Come on up, Omar.
Thank you all for staying this far. You're the brave souls that are strong enough to hear my poem. John, thank you so much for performing the whole night. Can I have something upbeat, jazzy, bluesy, something to pick up the tempo a little bit? I'm originally Egyptian. I moved to San Francisco in 2013, August, and I was very drawn. It was after our kind of failed revolution, which went back to dictatorship, and I was very drawn to the counterculture of like San Francisco in the 60s and the 70s. And I went to Haight-Ashbury, and then I saw Ben & Jerry's, Peace, Love, and Ice Cream. And I was like, that's not quite the summer of love I was expecting, but I've been seeing it all around, and gatherings like this make me feel proud to have remained in the city. But this poem is called The Costco. Let's do it. Yo, I'm in the Costco, and I want you to know that no one needs this much stuff. Your life ain't tough. You can't find what you need or see through the greed when you're blinded by these alleys and these galleys, containers and promotions, endless bottles and jewelry, massage chairs and foolery, 6 pounds of sirloin steaks, 600,000 napkins for grabs and an AI robot that will wipe your ass and a marble pot with jasmine plants that will soon die, and your eulogy for it will be a sigh, after which you'll get high and go back to the Costco to find another one to buy. Invest in your health by giving us all your wealth. Nothing here I can afford, but I've got a membership, and the swinging hammock chair can be mine, and I'll feel fine for a brief period of time. And I'll go to the Costco, and in my comfort, I will splurge, and in my defeat, I will purge. I'm Omar. Thank you so much for listening.
That was great, Omar. Thank you. Is Eleanor Gale still here?
Yeah.
Here she is. Thank you, Eleanor.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to read a poem called No Show at the Velo Rouge. The Velo Rouge is one of the many sweet local cafes in San Francisco. No show at the Velo Rouge. At noon, tables are full at the Velo Rouge Cafe. Chatter and clatter. I worry about my 95-year-old friend and his service cockapoo, nearly as old as he. Where will we sit? 30 minutes later, fearful my friend is lost or in a wreck on the Golden Gate Bridge, I call from outside the buzz of the cafe. Where are you? On the way? Oh God, is it today? Shice. He forgot, he's confused, he falls asleep on his feet, and his housekeeper is AWOL. Back in the cafe, I order an avocado BLT and iced coffee. Small consolation for eating alone. I wonder what I'll remember at 95. My nightly reading habit, a dozen pages before Morpheus descends, is endangered when I can't remember what happened in last night's pages. The characters are strangers. The plot disappears in muddy waters, along with the location of my keys, handbag, and cleaner's receipt for my mildew-lined London fog raincoat. At 95, my mother cringed at the mention of dementia. At 100, she endured, fog-bound in a nursing home wheelchair. On good days, she thought she lived in a hotel where the service and chocolate eclairs were outstanding. If my mind goes, I hope it will drop me off in a cottage in the Cotswolds, a beach house on Martha's Vineyard, or, better yet, my grandmother's kitchen where she's roasting chicken and baking challah for Shabbat. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Eleanor. All right, here's Bob Haas, novelist, screen, television writer, and patient man. Bob!
Oh, good evening, everyone. And thank you for staying this long. I just signed a contract to have my first novel published. It's about a young pianist who, in 1993, is trying to work his way into the LA music scene, and he's doing so while trying to hide the fact that he's homeless. And this is the narrative of how he wound up out on the streets. He did all he could. He took low-paying, thankless gigs that no veteran musician wanted. He always showed up on time or early. He tried his best to get along with the other musicians and to not act like some temperamental prima donna. He steered completely clear of drugs and only allowed himself an occasional alcoholic beverage. He tried to save money by sharing apartments with roommates, but had a run of bad luck. Some roommates were undependable, others dishonest. A few were deeply troubled. He finally gave up and moved into a tiny studio apartment in Reseda. But even that proved to be too much. The sparse gigs didn't bring in enough. One day, he realized with a cold shock that he might have to give up his apartment. He made a tough decision to sell his Toyota, and he left it all. He could find a cheap car to get around in. The cash from the Toyota could keep him going for another few months. He found the Ford for a couple of $100 and sold the Toyota with great sadness. It brought in enough cash to get by for a few more months, but it also wasn't enough. Soon he realized he could only make another couple of rent payments on the studio. He could face eviction, which would ruin his credit rating, or he could put his belongings into storage and live in the Ford while he saved up enough for another room or another studio apartment. He moved his belongings into a storage locker in Van Nuys. Then he drove to the Union and spent several hours practicing, trying not to think about what had happened and what was about to happen. As long as he played piano, he retained some feeling of self-worth. Again and again, he told himself, I'm somebody. I'm not worthless. I'm not. Just after 5 p.m., he left the Union, got a quick dinner of 2 a.m. hot dogs, then drove aimlessly through Hollywood for several hours. Just after 9, he turned onto Sunset and then onto a side street, covering the windshields and windows with the sunshades. He could barely bring himself to believe what was happening. He was homeless, a vagrant, a bum. The one-time star of the Cincinnati Conservatory, whose senior recital was praised by the music editor of the Cincinnati Enquirer, and it had somehow come to this. He was homeless and living in his car. He'd never known such humiliation. Thank God his mother didn't live to see this. And thank God his father didn't either. His father would never have let him hear the end of it. I'm somebody. I'm not worthless. He didn't sleep very well that first night. The humiliation made him sick to his stomach, so sick he almost threw up. Twice he heard footsteps pass his car, and his body tensed with fear. He finally fell into a light doze for a few hours. When he woke, he had to remind himself where he was and how he got there. I'm going to get out of this, he vowed. I'm not going to let it last this long. No matter what it takes, I'm going to get out of this. He never thought he would still be living in his Ford 7 months later.
Thank you, Bob. Next up is Eric.
Yes.
Yes. Eric's here. Of course he is. Come on up, Eric. After Eric is Tracy.
So I have 2 pieces, but they're both short. One is, thank you. I knew you were going to appreciate that. One is exactly 274 words, and the other one is exactly 15 lines. So I've got 1 micro story, and I've got 1 poem. It'll be easy. Relax. Interest. We went overseas to keep our daughters in easy bake ovens. They can call it communism, freedom, or safety, but most of us had bills to pay, problems we were running from, or both. It's all joking and smoking until your ears are ringing and your eyes are stinging. The smell of cordite and the burned hair makes you want to retch. I stumbled onto a buddy, sawed in half, gasping at me with his remaining hand. He croaked, "Kill me." I raised my sidearm. I saw the visage of Kissinger in the blue smoky aftermath. America has no friends, only interests. He sounded like the gravel crunching under the ambulance that pulled up behind. I don't remember anything else. Memories fade along with my feelings, my faculties, my family, into a fog of medication that the VA gives me. I try to care, to reach out, to hold on. But if the nightmares aren't real, nothing is. There's just this long, deep tunnel with walls made of black plumes and mangled viscera, with some sort of fuzzy TV show that resembles life in the States at the other end. I should have pulled the trigger twice. We're both casualties now. There's a ding. My little girl pulls out a tray from her pink heat lamp powered oven. She waddles, unsure, over to me with eyes too young to be sad. "Daddy, would you like a muffin?" This one is called Irony. It's funny how death makes everything ironic. The plane tickets to Barbados, the reservations to that place we always wanted to try, the presents curated over the year for the big 5-0, the perfect card and the lemon cake, your favorite. The most important fight of our lives, the terrifying rehearsals, the agonizing slow acceptance, the thin smiles I hung on to, the Prozac to keep you with me, the sirens and flashing lights, the strange things you think, the sitting on a bloody bed, the for sale ad flashes in my mind, 45 automatic, only used once.
Thank you, Eric. And now it's Tracy Travers. Come on up, Tracy. And Alex, you'll be after Tracy.
There is a moment in the night that is so black you cannot see your hand in front of you. In this blackness, you only know if your eyes are opened or closed by the weight of your lids. This is where I lived for months. I had pleaded and begged for time to stop so that I could think, make a plan, but time moved on. And there I sat, 16 years old, 8 months pregnant, alone, abandoned, and ashamed. The only person I dared to tell, the only person who loved me, had left months ago. It was January 3rd, 1988, and I would die tonight. My sister had set me up on a blind date. She thought that if I had went out with someone, then I would stop crying. I planned to kill myself after that date. He kept asking me a million questions. What were my plans after high school? Had I thought about colleges? Was I going to stay so close to home? He just wouldn't stop asking me questions, so finally I blurted out, "I'm pregnant. Leave me alone." He said, "Who knows?" I lied, "No one." His reply shocked me. "Well, you told the wrong person. I am not leaving you." My first doctor's appointment was January 4th, and I gave birth to a healthy baby girl February 11th. Sometimes we hesitate to ask questions. We hesitate to push for an answer. Or we ask a question with the answer already attached. Were you late because you overslept? Sometimes questioning, pushing can save a life. In my case, it saved two. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Alex Foley is coming up, and after Alex, Vanessa McLaren-Ray. Here's Alex.
All right, for all those that have made it this far, a couple very unique pieces to try and wake us up. The first is a rap that I wrote like 10 years ago, which could be a poem. This one goes out to all of those who know the feeling when your mind starts reeling, but there's only bait on the line. When you find yourself staring into space, wondering how much longer your patience go last and how fast life passes you by, dying inside a cubicle or behind a desk, beating your chest. If you be waking up early or going to bed late, just to put clothes on a back or 3 meals on a plate, doing whatever it takes to make ends meet, living a nightmare stuck on repeat, if you're lagging at work while staring at the clock, feeling caught in between a hard place and a rock, so sick of the same grind of the debt you gotta pay off, just think of all the things you're gonna do when it's finally your day off. And the other one is a curious dialogue between a shark and a fish who are debating the question, is it wrong for a shark to eat a fish? And I'd like you to think about that question with the knowledge, what if sharks and fish had emotions and consciences? Is it wrong for a shark to eat a fish? Shark, surely not. I must eat to live. Fish, yeah, and I must not be eaten to live. Shark, but you taste good. Fish, so your taste buds trump my survival? Shark, listen, if I don't eat fish, I will die. Fish, and if you do, my whole family will die. Shark, are you asking me to starve for the sake of your family? Fish, why is your life more important than all those you kill? Shark, I control your population. If I don't kill your family, the whole ocean will be worse off. Fish, that sounds like Hitler. Shark, evolution says we got here by killing and neglecting the weak. Why should I stop now? Fish, cooperation across differences has potential to benefit all involved. Shark, how could you possibly help me with my hunger besides being my lunch? Fish, my uncle has some killer ideas. Let me go to the reef and ask him. Shark, how do I know you're not lying? Do polygraphs work on fish? Fish, the better question is, who will get to decide if the ideas are worth trying? Shark, let's just say you're not in a position to tell me what to do. Fish, what affords you the position of judge? Shark, I could eat you. Fish, so decisions for the good of our ocean should be made by our most threatening predators? Shark, how else would we decide? You'd be just as biased as me. Fish, that's the point.
Thank you, Alex. Next up is Vanessa McLaren-Ray. Here she is, and after Vanessa, Tanya Martin. Vanessa.
Because I'm short. Thank you, like everybody else, for staying. I'm just going to do one, and the one I've cut is the one that would go with music, so sorry. I'm Vanessa McLaren-Ray. I have, at this point in my life, published exactly 4 novels and 4 poems. So, woo, I now have a balanced literary history. Open my cheat sheet, just in case I forget some part of this. Is there anyone in the room who does not know what alternative text is? Alternative text is up to 1,000 characters that you can add to an image that you place on the internet, on your blog, on your social media, on your Insta, wherever you put pictures, You put text so that people who are visually impaired can get it, okay? Usually, the alt text is just a little description of what's in the image. And sometimes it's a little bit more. After all, it's 1,000 characters you have to work with, sometimes in an environment where elsewhere you only have 280. The title of the poem is, of course, alt text. Hashtag, 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 hashtag. This is for the ones with their screen readers humming, with their chair motors gunning, with the right drugs running in their veins. This is for the ones with the fidgeting fingers, the mad data slingers, the wild-eyed singers in the rain. We're not invisible, derisible, or risible. See you, hear me, taste light, feel green. It's all right, it's all good, even when it's not. It is. This is for the mothers and the fathers and the grands who don't have the budget but know where they stand, who fight for the kids, no matter their age, the advocates, the activists, the skilled in rage. This is for the ones fighting daylight nightmares, breathing soundless words, drowned in boundless truth, driving through the pain, through fatigue, through doubt. Dream free, speak out, forge on. You've got this. Even if you think you don't, you know, you do. It's all good, it's all right, because it's truth. Taste the light, feel green, see you, be heard. You're not invisible, we're indivisible. Hashtag, hashtag, boom.
Thank you, Vanessa. I've got 5 names on my list. Let's see if there are 5 people left to fill the mic when I call them up. Tanya Martin. Tanya Martin's here, and then Jen Blake is next. Come on up, Tanya.
Okay, I've got a flash nonfiction, short flash nonfiction. It's called High Anxiety at the Zoo. At the San Francisco Zoo with my mother and adult daughters, we're pondering the ethics of keeping animals in cages on a damp and gray July afternoon. I like seeing the animals in the wild, says one of my daughters, as seagulls circle and cry out from above windswept cypress trees. I've always felt the special connection to animals, announces my mother, and her eyes light up with her non sequitur. And I think, oh really, like she's just dissolved some characterizing fact about herself that's been a big secret all of our lives. But then I flash back to our last zoo trip, the Auckland Zoo, about 10 years ago, and an uneasiness creeps over me, as I remember that thing she does at zoos. As we approach the first animal enclosure, she walks a little faster, and I feel her eagerness, her barely suppressed glee. "Hello, darlings," she says to the lemurs, waving her hands to get their attention, clicking her tongue and desperately trying to make eye contact to prove her powers of animal telepathy or zoo lingualism. And this is when I launch into my foolish endeavor to stifle her inner Doolittle, because I know she is not above full-on animal mimicry. I want to appear as a normal family. Whatever that is, I can't help myself. I want to derail her circus ring. But normal is not something my mother likes to do. She will not be deterred from talking to the animals. Not just talking to the animals, but communing with them. Because the animals get her in ways that I obviously don't. Passing people smile at the charming 70-year-old woman who is whistling to the blue-headed macaws, while we wait patiently for the birds to reply. One of the birds finally whistles, and she looks back to me, like a small child, to see if I've seen her trick. While my daughters laugh as she waddles from one foot to the other, cawing and flirting with the penguins, I feel my blood pressure rising. I realize I'm being uptight, pushing us through the exhibits at an unreasonable rate, and reading aloud the information placards to try and distract or drown her out. And the more I try to restrain her, the more manic she becomes. Later I say, Mom, I need the toilet, so I can run away from her full-on hooting and hollering when we reach the mandrills. I suppose I worry people will think she's crazy. I want to tell them she's not just some madcap, red-headed Kiwi character. She's my intelligent, sensitive, loving, bipolar mother. I don't remember the first time I looked around, embarrassed that my mother was clowning to strangers, as if the spotlight were somehow focusing on me instead. I had always admired those charms until one day I didn't. I take a picture of her with some giraffes in the background, and she stretches her neck out as far as she can, trying to get a laugh from me. I laugh to spite myself, and near the end of our tour, I see an ostrich matching my mother's pace along the fence. And they do appear to be deep in conversation. And for a minute, I have to wonder, what are they talking about?
Thank you, Tanya. Is there a Jen Blake in the house? Is there a Monica Rose in the house? Monica, come on up.
Well, like a pony, I'm a little hoarse. So please excuse me. Okay. All right, I'm going to do the shortest poem I've ever done. Imagine Sierra foothills, a lake, a stream. I found a perfect skipping stone and threw it perfectly wrong. That's it. Okay, this is called In Store, so I'm bringing the country down from the hills into the concrete. In store, everything hinges on perhaps offering food for thought about what may lie in store, giving some, gathering enough, wanting more. Somewhere between drought and glut, desire springs as barbed wire stitches a pastoral scene. The communal acorn woodpecker senses bad weather with a pecking frenzy 3 days before a storm, then stuffs a cedar post with fall acorns for the clan, filling a granary with winter bounty. Clouds graze the sky, then crowd in marshmallow waves, turning gray, watching the scramble below. Cows chew on their fate in thin pasture, consider the other side behind the wire, long for leaves beyond tongue. While a woodpecker rests his head. I have another, let's see, one here. Potato Eaters. His first masterpiece. Van Gogh paints plain people in poverty sharing a scant meal of spuds with a spot of brew, a platter of potatoes, bony fingers, grasping mouths, caught mid-word with harvest hope. They speak eyefuls, potato eaters, rooted tubers of the earth, as we feast our eyes on figures basked in golden light, rugged features, earnest and eager in a failed painting, now priceless. And now, a little politics. Go electric. I'm a country girl, remember? Okay. None shall pass, the post proclaims on a rear bumper of a pale blue Tesla, going 45 and a 55. holding up a long column of SUVs that hurry in a rush hour morning. The Lilliput chastises the gas guzzlers. See, I'm saving fuel, modeling the electric way. You must follow my lead. See how much power I have over lesser cars that enlarge the global carbon tire print. Do as I do, be righteous. This, the SUV retorts in a burst of energy, and who runs the big engines that power you? As you retreat to the garage to recharge, or your battery will lie in ruins and spill poison into the soil 10 years into the future. Double yellow lines hold for a moment, then open into single dotted permission as freedom reigns when every behemoth in procession leaves the little car shrinking in his rear view, disappearing into the morning sunrise. My bicycle wheels were in a narrow, lonely lane, and this too shall pass.
Thank you, Monica. Is there a Charity Ronstadt in the house? Come on up, Charity. And then Rocky.
In transit, waiting for the bus to Bakersfield.
Louder.
Louder.
Okay, is that better?
Into the mic.
All right, I'm just gonna hold it. Okay. In transit, waiting for the bus to Bakersfield.
No, louder.
Louder?
Is it off?
I hear it. Okay, I got it now, sorry.
All right.
In transit, waiting for the bus to Bakersfield. As I dream about a small lotto win to rectify my past, a woman with a trash bag suitcase tells me she has to let the past go. I married the wrong man once, she says. And now I can't afford a car. She is waiting for the bus to Fresno. She says that I am beautiful even with my mask on. She says she wastes time worrying. That's why she has gray hair. I see her roots are gray under long black weave. I tell her, we all do. We all should let the past go. She says, you too? You've been through the same thing? Everything has things to let go, I say. Yes, she says. She picks up her ticket envelope and points to the ad for oral rinse. I think I'll buy some of this. My mouth has been under the mask too long. I'll buy some breath rinse, and when I get home, I'll tell my husband I let it all go, 'cause it's been holding me back. And then I'll tell him I love him. You gotta say that. And you're beautiful, she says. I just had to tell you. Even with that mask on, you are beautiful. And then she turns to another person and tells another chapter of her life story. I see others try to move away, to look away, but she talks. And she smiles wide, her glossed lips sparkle, her teeth flash gray, filled with her irreparable past. Before she pulls on her mask and gets on the bus to Bakersfield with all the other solitary, quiet travelers headed for the train. By the time I get home, I will know if I won the lottery, which means I have that long to dream about letting go.
Thank you so much. Is there a Rocky in the house?
Yep.
Here he is. I thought Rocky had to fly now, but no, here he is. Our penultimate reader of the evening, it's Rocky.
I'm going to read an article from my book, A Psycho's Guide to Animal Companionship, Instructions for the Abnormal Pet Companion. This one is called How to Housebreak Your Horse. Many conscientious horse companions are hopelessly unprepared when it comes to the realities of modern rural life, As much as they may wish them to gamble in the great outdoors, the grim fact is that it presents an unacceptable level of danger to their steeds. Outdoor horses are vulnerable to a variety of perils. For instance, a horse can get a hoof stuck in a gopher hole and have to stand there looking stupid until someone calls equine patrol or a gopher bites his toe. A horse crossing the road can trip over a chicken. A horse grazing innocently in a field can get crop dusted, making him as unfit for consumption as most everything else people eat. Then there is the siren snort of the wild horse that may prove too great a temptation to the house horse to resist, and it's sayonara, Charlie. As more people encroach on the horse's native domain, they too incur greater risks. A backcountry horse that gets hit by a Mini Cooper can cause damage to the people in the Mini Cooper, and anyone in the path of a Mustang stampede is taking their chances. Thus, there is a consensus in the animal services community that allowing your horse out of doors is a bad idea. Since there is no way to counter this kind of thinking without military training, the best solution is to grin and bear it. Start by housebreaking your horse. After that, kicked indoors, hoof prints on the carpet, and ministering to forehead lumps sustained by someone trotting between rooms will seem inconsequential. The conventional feline litter box, while its dimensions may fall short, offers a workable model. In the case of your horse, it is not a box, but a room that provides the desired capacity. The common term for it is the kaboom room. First, line the floor with a slick but impervious material such as stainless steel, which can be hosed down without incurring dry rot. Next, deposit on the floor of the room several bales of clean straw. If the horse is dirty to begin with, your horse might think another horse has already been there and moot territorial claims could arise. Once the straw is in position, you are ready to housebreak your horse. As soon as your horse anoints a location outside of the kaboom room, you must act. If you wait a day, that location might not be easily distinguished from others. Also, the horse will have gotten used to the concept not of a kaboom room, but of a curb pile domicile. The steps to take are: 1. Wait till your horse is finished with his activity, then put your hand on his mane, clasping his hair in gently but firmly clenched fingers. If you can't reach his mane, be prepared with a stool on wheels, which can be purchased at any horse food store. Before mounting the stool, make sure that the brakes are in good working order. There is no way to predict the direction your horse might select when he figures out what you're up to, and flying stools can be a health hazard. If your horse's response to being hand-led is unencouraging, by all means use reins. Cattle prods, bull whips, and sharpened bamboo shoots, though those are often the first choices of people who experiment on rats, should only be reserved for situations in which someone is about to be trampled to death. Firmly guide the horse's nose to the offending material until it's no more than an inch away, and in a stern voice say, "No, bad horsey." This should be repeated until your horse acquires a guilty-looking physiognomy. 3. Seize this moment to lead your horse into the kaboom room. Point out to the horse the nice fresh straw. Then, leaving your horse there, close the door, and don't let him out until he has a chance to analyze the situation. If, when you open the door, you find the horse eating the straw, don't worry, he'll stop once he begins to use the room properly. This procedure may need to be repeated for several months before your horse starts to obey the rules. As soon as he does, he should be immediately rewarded. The best reward by far is to let him outside. For more information, read Rocky's Complete Guide to the Indoor Horse. Helpful hint for the compassionate horse companion: horses who gallop between rooms are probably lost. 5 more things a horse companion should know. 1. Horses who play soccer, where horses who play soccer succeed, where horses who play ping pong fail. 2. Never yell stampede in a crowded stall. 3. Never ask a horse to watch a non-horse horsing around. 4. Never ask your horse to take sides in a shootout. And 5. Horses worth $1 million may wake you up in the middle of the night for chives. Thank you.
All right, John, you ready for one last song?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's our final poet of the evening. I was wondering, because Maria's still here, do I have a poem that references Finland. And because Lissa's still here, I was wondering, do I have a poem that references urine? And I do. Do you know any Finnish tunes there, John? Something Scandinavian? Excellent. This is called My Heart Aches for You. My heart aches for you. I would tend the woods with Finnish rakes for you. I would pound a vampire's heart with a fat steak for you, for my heart aches for you. My heart aches for you. I take to you the way that our puppy takes to you. The puppy won't pee in her crate for you, and my heart aches for you. My heart aches for you. Let me thirst for you. Let it never be slaked. Let no one unmake what we did make. Let there be 100 candles on our cake. Let me visit each of 10,000 lakes, and let me negotiate all of these aches, for I will stake all that I make. I will endure all for only your sake. Let the heart beat, let the heart ache, for my heart aches for you. Thank you. And thanks to all 4% of you who made it to the end of the open mic. Give yourselves a round of applause. We're going to just think about how could we shorten this for next year. You know, it'll just come up.
No way.
Strategy sessions.
No way.
No, don't do it. Say the last 10 people. 2 minutes, says the sound guy. So we're already hearing some feedback. That's good. We don't have to wait for the forms. Just go ahead and yell out what you're thinking right now. All right. There'll be one more. They turned it off. Good, I don't blame them. There'll be one more poem tomorrow morning at breakfast. Otherwise, thanks so much for participating in the open mic. I'll see you at the sessions tomorrow and every year for another edition of the San Francisco Writers Conference. Good night, everyone. Whatever the case may be. Okay, bye-bye.